tumaliriza onako olweggulu ate tugenda kuba tutunulira ensonga eziwerako ddala. Katsoke twegatte ku muganda wange my fellow senior journalist Sonko atubulye biki ebiri mu bitundu ebyekkololo omukolo guno gyegenda okubeera nga His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni ye mugenyi omukulu. Sonko oli butereevu ku Smart 24 TV tuwe ekifaananyi embeera nga bweri mu biseera bino mu bitundu ebyekkololo.
Munaffe gwe atwegaseko wano ku UG tukolenga tuli mu bitundu by'ekkololo during the National Budget Conference 2022 nga eri wansi wa theme for industrialization, for inclusive growth, employment and wealth creation. Okusinzira ku mbeera eriwo essaawa zino omukolo gutandise ng'era honorable minister ab'enjawulo batuuse dda mu kitundu ng'era anthems ziyimbiddwa ng'era band okuva mu prisons, Uganda prisons yeweereza yetuweereza oluyimba lw'eggwanga n'oluyimba olwa East African Community era nga gwe yakatweyungako essaawa zino nga tuli Kololo nga tutunuulira ku National Budget Conference eya 2022-2023. One of the key things here include making sure that they tap into industrialization, employment, wamu ne wealth creation okulaba nga Bannayuganda ab'enjawulo getting intact with it. Era nga wenjogerera essaawa zino Honorable Minister wa Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development ye Honorable Matia Kasaija agenda kuba ayina byawa abantu abali wano Kololo okubanga addressing everyone out there who's at home watching. Era bye bimu ku bintu byagenda okubanga addressing z'ensonga zezimu ku nsonga lwaki conference eno weri wano ngate okusinzira ku byolaba wano ye footage okusinzira ku ba MP ba honorables okuva mu different dignities abatweyunzeko essaawa zino waliwo bannamawulire ab'enjawulo nga okusinzira ku fiiro eriwo oyinza olaba nti waliwo abasinga tukyabalinda okujja waliwo obutebe obumu obutanaba ku coveringibwa. Some people have not yet arrived, but of course we do wait for most of them to come on board as well, and we also expect the guard of honor, that is the president of the country, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, to actually come here and also address the nation in regards to this particular conference as well. Ate wetutunuulira ku program egenda maaso wano osobola olaba nti waliwo essaawa zino tuli ne welcome remarks zino ziri wakati wa Honorable Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development ye Honorable Matia Kasaija nga yali mu kuwa opening remarks ezo. After all tujja kuba tuyina the opening address from the Right Honorable Robin Nabanja nga naye atuwa ku byenjawulo ebiri awo. Okusinzira ku bantu abaliwo tulinawo delegation from the International Monetary Fund, that is IMF, tulinawo waneeno the honorable ministers and all dignitaries as we still await and see bameka bagenda okujja. Tulinawo ne permanent secretary of Ministry of Finance, that is Honorable Ramadan Gobi, naye waali waneeno nga obadde olaba mu bitundu ebyenjawulo era tujja kusigala nga tukuleetera ab'enjawulo okusinzira ku mbeera nga bwetambula wano Kololo as we are into the National Budget Conference of 2022-2023 financial year. So clearly we are looking at a theme. As you can see, the theme is mainly in inclusive growth, employment and wealth creation for the Ugandans to actually take part in one way or the other. So clearly nga wolaba abantu ab'enjawulo we bali waneeno nga tukyasuubira okulaba abantu ab'enjawulo nga batwegattako. Later on in the day, we also expect the president to actually come on board to address the nation in regards to this particular one. And of course, as the Right Honorable is actually addressing the nation and addressing the different dignitaries on board here in Kololo. So that is quite the feel that is happening here in Kololo. Namwe abakatweyungako ku UG tukole. So clearly, osobola olaba ab'enjawulo ebigenda maaso wano mu ggwanga n'okusinzira ddala wano okuva e Kololo mu Kampala. Kura Smart 24 TV nze Joram Posonko kasoke mbaze wa Fred Makubya, and he will definitely give you a feel, and later on tujja kudda tubawe feed.
That is exactly what is happening today at the Kololo grounds. Basaba ne banyabo ezo zimu ku nsonga ezigenda ddala maaso mu bitundu ebyekkololo nga tubategeeza nti tusuubira enkyanaku olwaleero omugenyi omukulu agenda kuba His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Olunaku olwaleero bagenda kuba basaba okulula enteekateeka y'embalirira ey'omwaka ogujja financial year 2022 and 2023. of course ebiseera ebisinga tumanyi nti financial year etandikira ddala mwezi ogw'omusanvu buli financial year weba etandika ate enteekateeka oba y'okutegekera financial year for the next year nayo eba etandika. This time around I want to appreciate government nti bagezezzaako okulaba nti baleeta different stakeholders of course on board. Tujja kuba tuddayo mu maaso kaawo naye neegatiddwako Mr. Javira Busurwa onono ali in charge of finance and administration wano mu kitongole ekimanyikiddwa okulwanira bannamakolero abatono ku nsonga ez'emisolo, ku nsonga ez'okwewandiisa, ku nsonga as long as you are a member of Small Scale Industries Association oba oli munnamakolero omutonotono akyeteekateeka atannaba kwezula weezudde naye nga wandyagadde okuba nga ostabilizinga business banenno bakakasiddwa nti balina obumalirivu. Mwami Javira agoberera nnyo ensonga za budget zino ndowooza on behalf of the Uganda Small Scale Industries Association tuli naye sobole okuba torch nti given the effects of COVID-19 and the different preparations zino ezigendera ddala maaso, so what sort of budget efaanana etya gye tulina okuba nga tuli nayo oba nga bongera okuteekateeka yes bateekerateekera bali abanene abali waggulu naye ate bo bannamakolero amatonotono bo what sort of budget do we need? Tumanyi buli mbalirira every financial year URA ebeera ne target. Tumanyi nti this time round of course balina ebitundu nga 2.1. Will that be met? BMB tugenda okubanga tutunulira. But of course to bring you closer to the function which is at Kololo bali mukubaganya birowoozo kumbalirira again ey'omwaka ogujja 2022-2023. Of course I am reliably informed that the private sector is represented by the executive director Omwami Francis Kisirinya n'abakulu abalala. Mwami Javira Busurwa nsanyuse nnyo okulaba.
So nange nesimi okubeera naawe era okwebaza tulowoozako ffe ng'aba Uganda Small Scale Industries Association oba oli awo ne tubaako ne kyetutegeeza eggwanga ku bintu ebibeerawo si tekuba mulanga naye kuba kujjukiza batutwala nti ku byonna bye tuba tulowoozaako small scale industries oba abamakolero abatonotono be balina omusingi gw'enkulaakulana mu ggwanga.
Bano abaleeta 10-10-2-2 bogaye bayimirizaawo
abo abaleeta 10-10 bo baba basobola okweyimirizaawo be bayimirizaawo eggwanga olw'ensonga nti bw'oba otunuulira structure yaffe engeri gye tulimu the economic structure weesanga nga abatonotono be basinga obungi wansi ka structure negenda bweti ng'ekolaki ng'efunda abanene ddala baba batono abaddako ne bakendeera kati abangi be basinga obungi kati n'olw'ensonga eyo bw'olemererwa okumanya abasinga obungi kye beetaaga kitegeeza n'ono ali waggulu tajja kufuna kyakola n'abaddako bonna tebajja kufuna kyebakola.
Tugaze discussion ebiseera ebisinga mwe abasuubuzi mutera okugamba nti ffe abayimirizaawo eggwanga naye gavumenti bweba eteekateeka ate ffe tetuyita on board. So this time round government ekoze ekintu ekyomugaso nti ng'embalirira eno batandise okulaba nga bagitemateme ey'omwaka ogujja 2022-2023 mwena babaleese on board.
Ekisooka kituufu nga bw'ogambye era twongera okwebaza gavumenti nti oba oli awo saagala nnyo okugamba muno omulanga gwaffe kubanga omulanga guba gukungula naye okusaba kwaffe kugenze kuwulirwa olw'ensonga nti bw'obanga otegeka kutambuza ggwanga naye ng'eggwanga olitambuliza ku musolo ng'eggwanga olitambuliza ku musolo naye ng'ate bujjamu omusolo bo tubaleese ku mmeeza mutegeeragane mulabe omusolo ngujjawa tukoze tutya okwongeza omusolo sobola okutambuza eggwanga then ndowooza nti eyebeera nsobi n'olw'ensonga eyo gavumenti bwebanga kino ekireese era tusaba kyongeremu amaanyi kireme kuba nti ate tutunuulira abamu ku bamu naye wabeerewo enkola nti abantu bonna naddala ba industries beetaba mu kuteekateekera eggwanga. Ekyo kijja kuyamba nnyo nti kubanga tulina ekizibu nti gavumenti egenda nerowooza nti nno eteekeddwa omusolo guno naguli naye emisolo egimu ne gigenda gitakuŋŋaanyizibwa bulungi lwa nsonga nti abantu b'ogijjamu tobategeezezza bulungi bwa musolo naki kigenda guvaamu newankubadde nakiri kyetaagisa nti oke bw'oba obategeezezza n'ogibajjamu then era olina okubabuulira nti omwaka oguwedde omusolo twakuŋŋaanya bwe guti era tukoze kino n'omwaka guno tugenda kuŋŋaanya bwe guti era tusuubira okukola kino tugamba wabeerewo embalirira oba muzungu gye babadde accountability oli amanye nti ekikumi kyange buli lwenkiwa nsuubira okufunamu kino kinyamba okukola ki okwongera okugenda mu maaso.
Ndowooza nzikiriza twegatteko katono to the right honorable prime minister omukyala Robina Nabanja, deputy of course first prime minister asose okubeera omukyala. I think this is her maiden speech of course mu nsonga ey'embalirira as the prime minister of the Republic of Uganda. Njagala tubenga tumwegattako mu bitundu ebyekkololo tulabe ate biki byatutegeeza this time round. Of course eggwanga likyagendera maaso okubanga liteekerateekera financial year 2023 2022 and 2023 tukyalina mwami Javiira.
To the budget strategy in the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development is due to present regard the policy objectives of putting an end to the COVID-19 pandemic, ensuring economic recovery and maintaining investments, the growth fundamentals for sustain the growth of the economy. Colleagues, with these words, it's my singular honor to declare the National Budget Conference for the financial year 2022-2023 officially opened for God and my country. I know now I'm the chair. I think I can come down here and chair from there. All I request to be given the program so that I can chair while standing here. Okay, let me come down there. Maybe I will be provided with a microphone. Thank you so much.
Ndoza, of course, tujja kuba tudde mu bitundu ebyekkololo the right honorable prime minister of the Republic of Uganda omukyala Robina Nabanja tugenda kuba of course tumwegattako mu maaso kawo. Mwami Javiira, of course this time round embalirira ya 2023-2022 tutandise olwedde okugiteekateeka ng'obudde bukyali. Kino kitegeeza ki?
Yes, kino ekisooka tukyebaliza Mukama nti kibaddewo. Omanyi bulijjo bagamba bw'olemwa okuteekateeka oba oteekateeka bw'olemwa okuteekateeka oba oteekateeka kugwa. N'olw'ensonga eyo bwe kijja ali enough ndowooza enteekateeka ya gavumenti nnungi nti musobola okutuula era nga bwe twayogeddeko ne mukubaganya ebirowoozo ne mugamba nti okke banna omusolo kati ng'embeera eno bwebaddewo eya covid ffenna etunyize kati tukoze tutya kino guno gwagwo tuguleese tutambuddeko ebbanga bweriti naye tulaba kubanga ffenna tulina okukimanya nti nga bwe twagala otusonyiwa emisolo naye ate twagala gavumenti etukolera enguudo twagala gavumenti etukolera security twagala etukolere ki therefore erina okulaba nga yeefuna omusolo naye ate ffe twagala tusonyiwa omusolo kati tulina okufuna twagala batusonyiwe ate tubasaba enguudo kati webuuza ye enguudo agenda zikola atya
so tuba tulina omukwatirako
tetumukwatiraku buvunaanyizibwa bwaffe okusasula emisolo tugumuwe tuwe gavumenti ate ne gavumenti buvunaanyizibwa bwayo okufuna emisolo egyo egikozese nga bwe twali tutegeeraganye. Ndowooza we wakyali obuzibu nti ono asasula omusolo tamanyi kyasasula nakyasasulira, ate ne gujja bagira nti n'oli agutwala tamulaze bwagukozesezza na lwaki agututte.
President atuwa the state of the state of the nation address. Ndowooza atera gikolamu either first or second week mwezi ogw'omukaaga, every financial year mwezi ogw'omukaaga, ng'atubulira wawe tuvudde, wawe tuli, n'atubira ne tochi mu bukulembeze, wawe tulina okuba nga tubeera. I think byonna bibeera omwo.
Ebyo byonna era nga bw'ogambye byonna bibeera omwo. Naye bwe baba batuggyako emisolo tebatutugirako mu ebyo byonna ebibeera omwo, bajja ne bakuggyako nti sasula bwekiti ne bwekiti ne bwekiti. Kyentegeeza mu kino nti tuleme kutandika tufune enkola ennyonnyola abantu nti bannange omusolo guno guli. Ndowooza wali badde bye pulezidenti aba akoze ogugwe bensuubira ng'omukulembeze, kuba pulezidenti ayinza obutagenda ng'amenya buli kimu.
Ndowooza sooke twegatte ku prime minister. Kale kasooke tuddeyo mu bitundu eby'ekkolo tulabe the right honorable prime minister omukyala Robinah Nabbanja byatugamba. Tukyali ne mwami Javira okutunuulira ensonga z'olunaku olwaleero.
Agenda while addressing current socio-economic constraints. The third National Development Plan targets the achievement of two key results in the coming financial year. The first is to raise per capita income from $936 to $1,049, and would imply the realization of the mid-income status. The second is improvement of the quality of the lives of people. Currently, Uganda ranks at position 159 out of 189 countries on Human Development Index. The Human Development Index measures relative achievements made by countries in health, knowledge, and standards of living. The implementation of NDP3 has been disrupted by COVID-19 pandemic that has unfolded since March 2020. This has slowed economic activities and threatened socio-economic progress in several ways, with the potential of reversing the socio-economic gains Uganda had registered over the years. Businesses and livelihoods have been disrupted, and the full recovery of the pre-COVID-19 ill activity levels is threatened by more waves of the pandemic. Very distressful, but that's life. This budget strategy, therefore, presents a way forward on how to deal with current socio-economic constraints we face and restore growth and development path back to the pre-COVID-19 levels, and subsequently place effort on achieving our planned socio-economic development goals. As you are all aware, and as the Prime Minister has said, the National Development Plan 3 theme is industrialization for inclusive growth, employment, and wealth creation. All the annual budgets under the NDP3 will therefore have to speak to this theme. In this statement which I'm making, I will do the following. 1, present an assessment of the current state of socio-economic progress and the constraints. 2, elaborate on the economic policy framework and the proposed high-level strategic budget interventions that support the recovery and build a resilient base for socio-economic transformation. 3, explain the financing framework for the budget, including the resource mobilization strategy, state of the socio-economic progress and the constraints. The Ugandan economy before the COVID-19 outbreak had gathered momentum. You remember what I did one time. The journalists are very funny. they make fun of me. Real GDP grew at 6.3% in the financial year 17-18, accelerating to an 8-year high of 6.4% in 18-19. Unfortunately, the COVID pandemic triggered an economic slowdown, and Uganda recorded a real GDP growth of only 3% in financial year 19-20. This was the slowest rate in almost 3 decades, and the pace of expansion only picked up marginally to 3.3% in financial year 2021. Businesses have been severely affected by COVID-19 pandemic. The hardest hit sectors were education, construction, tourism, and hospitality, including transport, food services, arts, and entertainment and recreation. According to the Economic Policy Research Center, business activity was reduced by more than 50% points, and over 70% of the businesses reduced to the size of the workforce due to risk presented by COVID-19. The pandemic has reduced aggregate demand with a decline in domestic consumption, slowed private and public investment, lowered our exports in regional and international markets. Foreign direct investment inflows also declined as a result of disruption in global financial markets. The ensuing lockdown to mitigate the pandemic also caused the reduction in trade, constrained the movement of people, further dampening businesses' economic prospects. The economy had shown signs of rebounding after the easing of the first lockdown, and the growth is estimated at 3.3% for financial year 2021. During this period, the economy performed as follows. 1. Domestic tax collections declined from 16,163 billion or 16.2 roughly trillion in financial year 18-19 to shillings 15,000 billion 912 or 15.9 trillion in financial year 2019-20. In terms of domestic tax to GDP ratio, this decline corresponds to a reduction from 12.2% down to 11.4% over the same period. This has led to the widening of the fiscal deficit from 4.9% in financial year 18-19 to 7.1% in financial year 19-20, and now to 9.9% in financial year 2021. With increased fiscal pressures, public debt to GDP ratio has risen above the 50% threshold, arising from increased spending on health, stimulus packages, and social protection for the vulnerable. However, projections indicate that debt position will improve and be maintained within the 50% threshold. 2. Private sector credit growth declined from 12.2% in financial year 20-21 to 7.2% in the first quarter of the current financial year. The private sector credit is likely to remain subdued in the short term due to weak economic growth and increased risk aversion of lenders. Sorry, let me repeat. The private sector credit is likely to remain subdued in the short term due to weak economic growth and increased risk of aversion of the lenders. Relatedly, the proportion of non-performing loans to gross loans has increased to 5.4% in March 2021 from 5.15% in September 2020. The trade deficit worsened by 28% to a deficit of US dollars 3,083 million as import growth outpaced export growth. The import growth was driven by a 34% increase in private sector imports, largely for investment and consumption, amounting to $1,789 million and $311 million respectively. The health system has been stretched and education has been disrupted. As of 6 of this month, Uganda had 120,847 confirmed cases of COVID, with 95,687 recoveries, and unfortunately with 3,068 deaths. These had far-reaching impact on Uganda's healthcare systems, and the primary focus was placed on stemming the pandemic while dealing with other health concerns of the population. In education, the prolonged school lockdown has severely affected learning, the viability of school and education institutions, and reversed key human capital development results. So, our budget strategy is crafted within an environment of COVID-19 induced shocks, which requires innovations and different ways of achieving results. This state of affairs notwithstanding, there are opportunities for growth in the short and to the medium term, as I will demonstrate now. 1, acceleration of import substitution for new products, including medicines and other health products. 2, digitization of aspects of socio-economic activities to improve efficiency and reduce costs through e-commerce, e-government, e-learning. As you can see, if COVID was not around, this place should have been full. So now we have gone to another phase in development. You don't have to come to meetings physically. You can participate. These days I speak to Americans, I speak to the English people, I speak to the German, just in my office. So that is something that we should all welcome. The digitization of the economy comes with several jobs. Let me repeat this, because jobs is a very big problem, as you know, in this country now these days. Digitization of aspects of socio-economic activities to improve efficiency and reduce costs through e-commerce, e-government, and e-learning. The digitization of the economy comes with several jobs. 3, foreign direct investment inflows towards major infrastructure developments, including the investment in the East African crude oil pipeline, EACOP, the oil refinery, and further petroleum exploration. And 4, improved access to export markets that comes with the development of trade and marketing infrastructures, including the Gulu Logistics Center, the road to the RDC Congo, and one-stop border post. Now I turn to economic policy statement and budget priorities. Economic policy framework. The economic policy framework in the short to medium term aims to restore economic activity to pre-pandemic levels and accelerate the pace of socio-economic transformation. Boosting aggregate demand underpins Uganda's economic recovery and will be achieved by restoring domestic consumption, private and public investment, and export promotion. This will be complemented by targeting the vaccination of the population and strengthening our health system to mitigate COVID-19 pandemic and other ailments. In the medium term, the diversification of the economy, including Uganda's exports, is the key to returning to the planned economic growth trajectory. Increasing household incomes and the reduction of poverty will be a major focus of our economic policy. You have heard the Prime Minister talking about the parish development model. As a result of this economic policy that starts, economic growth is expected to rebound to 4.2% in financial year 21-22, 6% in financial year 22-23, and to at least 7% in the medium term. Our economic policy going forward seeks to achieve the following three broad objectives. One, to mitigate the COVID-19 impact on business activity and livelihoods to support the recovery of the economy back to normality by increasing access to capital, revamping health infrastructure and health systems, reducing vulnerabilities and ensuring access to education by automatic promotion for all classes. Two, to speed up socio-economic transformation through reprioritizing and delivering impactful investments and restructuring resources budget to areas with more value for money. Three, to sustain macroeconomic stability, peace and security as the key foundation for growth and development by keeping exchange rate stability, inflation control, maintaining an adequate reserve of forex, and mitigating emerging internal and external security threats. Strategic budget priorities for the financial year that we are talking about. The government's strategic intervention to achieve the economic policy objectives above will be: one, restoration of business activity by increasing access to capital. Later on I will talk about that, access to capital. Two, industrialization, particularly focusing on agro-industry and light manufacturing. Three, enhancement of the well-being of Ugandans by improving health infrastructure and systems and learning of the students. Four, improvement of productive infrastructure including ICT to support digitization of the economy, energy reliability and affordability, and effective transport development and maintenance. You've seen we have started with our meter gauge, rehabilitating our meter gauge railway. You saw the other day we were receiving the locomotives that Uganda Railway Corporation has imported. Five, commercialization of oil and gas resources, expedite mineral beneficiation, and fully exploit Uganda's tourism potential. Six, reform the public sector for greater effectiveness and efficiency. Now, restoring business activity and deepening financial inclusion. To restore business activity, the immediate focus will be on implementing fiscal and monetary measures to boost aggregate demand. Let me repeat this. In order to restore business activity, there is need for immediate focus. The immediate focus will be on implementing fiscal and monetary measures to boost aggregate demand. The key to this is to mitigate the impact of COVID-19 on business SMEs. The following interventions will be prioritized therefore. One, business recovery funds to enable small businesses to access raw capital to recover. Later on we may talk about that as well. Two, EMBALIRIRA funding to provide seed capital for special interest enterprising groups. Three, UDB capitalization and other financing schemes such as the Agricultural Credit Facility. Four, strengthening private sector institutional and organizational capacity by focusing on the establishment of functional business development support services centers regionally. The government will also fast track the approval of the financial sector development strategy by Cabinet to ensure a sound and integrated financial sector. This aims at increasing formal savings to 53% of GDP and the percentage of adults using formal financial services to 80% by 2025, with a 79% of female inclusion, 89% inclusion of youth, and the 77% of rural adults. The legal and the regulatory framework will be strengthened through the implementation of 1. The National Payment System Act, which provides for establishment of the national payment switch to reduce the cost of financial transaction transfers. 2. The amendment of the Microfinance Deposit Taking Institutions 2003. And 3. The National Strategy for combating money laundering and the financing of terrorism and the proliferation. Now I turn to industrialization, agro-industrialization, and light manufacturing. The focus will be on sustaining the resilience of agriculture along the value chain, agro-processing, and support to light manufacturing by doing the following. 1. Expand storage and processing capacity for agricultural commodities within the 18 zones of this country. 2. Provide funds for private sector equity investment through Judiciary to be invested in key commodity agro-processing value chains. 3. Support industries that use locally sourced raw materials to produce most of the goods that we import. I'll repeat this one. Support industries that use locally sourced raw materials to produce most of the goods that we are importing today. 4. Capitalization of Uganda Development Bank to provide affordable and long-term capital at lower interest rates to agriculture, agro-processing, and manufacturing. 5. Develop the iron and the steel industry to reduce the cost of construction. 4. Government investment in and support private sector industries with untapped export potential, particularly in agro-industry and light manufacturing. And 7. Continue with our policy of attracting foreign direct investment through the implementation of the new investment code of 2019. And 8. Strengthen standards for quality assurance to improve access of Uganda's exports to regional and international markets. Now I turn to the way of enhancing the well-being of our people. The government has taken steps to procure vaccines, expand hospital capacity through the recruitment of additional staff and volunteers to assist with the management of the pandemic, expanding high dependency units and intensive care units to 3,100 and 218 respectively. Still lacking, still little, but we are moving. And increasing the number of standard hospital beds by 475. These efforts will continue, as I've said. The immediate priority of the government during financial 22-23 will be to mitigate the COVID-19 impact while also obtaining value for money for the resources dedicated to combating the pandemic through the following. 1. Country-wide vaccination to mitigate the COVID-19 impact. Maintaining resources in the budget for increasing the capacity for other communicable and non-communicable diseases. 3. Fast-tracking the national health insurance policy, including the national ambulance systems to reduce the cost of service on the government. 4. Sustainably bringing back education to normality and attaining pre-COVID-19 levels of access to education. You have heard we are now in serious talks regarding when we can reopen schools. Now, improving maintenance, availability, and affordability of productive infrastructure. Achievements have been made towards increasing coverage of road transport infrastructure. Let me repeat. Achievements have been made towards increasing coverage of road transport infrastructure. We may give you statistics at an appropriate time. However, to get more value for money, the focus will be on increasing maintenance and undertaking preparatory activities for new constructions in future as the economy recovers. Further investment in intermodal transportation in rail and water will also be key in connecting productive areas to the market. Given this context, the focus of this program will be to maintain a good road network system, complete existing contracts, undertake studies and acquire infrastructure corridors for future investments. The COVID-19 has amplified the need for digital transformation. I have said that one already. Yet the cost of internet is still high. This is especially because the pandemic affected the usual and physical way of doing things and running businesses. The focus of the program will therefore be on 1, implementing last mile connectivity, roll out broadband infrastructure in key government service delivery units, ensuring all essential services such as schools, hospitals, post offices, tourism sites, police, the local government, etc. are connected. 2, supporting the development and commercialization of the local ICT products and build a critical mass of talent to develop applications and services. 3, supporting the rollout of e-services such as e-extension, e-education, e-health, as well as remote collaboration solutions to digitally transform public service delivery, particularly considering the COVID troubles that we are going through. 4, provide digital literacy training to SMEs and communities to create awareness about ICTs and empower them in the use of ICT products and services. Harnessing opportunities under minerals, petroleum, and tourism. Mineral exploitation and development are critical for Uganda's industrialization process. Investing in mineral development lowers the cost of production, increases the return on investment, and boosts the supply of locally manufactured products like cement, iron, and steel, and fertilizers. Considering dwindling tax revenues due to COVID-19, this program prioritizes investment for import replacement, export promotion, and improvement in domestic resource-based royalties. Because of this, the focus for this program is towards maintaining existing investments in exploration and qualification for steel and minerals in Karamoja, as well as incentives for import replacement of iron and steel. The oil and gas industry has the potential to transform Uganda's economy, with no doubt. Sustainable development of petroleum resources enhances the value addition to oil and gas resources as one of the key growth opportunities. It also facilitates resource-based industrialization agenda through the exploitation of available oil resources. This contributes to exports, employment, and improved quality of life. If well utilized, sustainable exploitation of oil resources provide resources that can leverage investments in other sectors of the economy and lead to increased households' income. The focus of this program will be towards faster tracking completion of the East African crude oil pipeline and refined products pipeline, establishment of the National Petroleum Data Repository, undertaking the preparatory process for establishing a robust petrochemical industry, and finally, capitalization of the company which is designated to handle our resources, our financial resources from the oil, which we call UNOC, Uganda National Oil Company. Under tourism, the following intervention will be prioritized. 1. Sustaining upstream investment in ongoing product development and tourism-related infrastructure like roads, electricity, internet, security, etc. 2. Increasing access to the recovery financing, which we have already talked about. 3. Intensification of domestic tourism. Intensification of domestic tourism. Travel around your country and enjoy yourselves and see what God gave us. Public sector effectiveness and efficiency. Public sector effectiveness and efficiency will be improved through the following measures. 1. Continued rationalization of government. The process has already commenced with the transfer of REA to the Ministry of Energy and the solution of the Ministry of Science and Technology. So we have started rationalization. In line with the strategy of the government to catalyze industrialization, the government is finalizing the computation of the requirements for phased salary enhancement for scientists and health workers who are engaged in research and innovation, and the implementation of which will commence in financial year 22-23, the one we are talking for now. 3. The government is implementing the parish development model, as I already said, as a mechanism aimed at alleviating poverty by improving household incomes and welfare through employment and wealth creation, especially targeting the 39 of households still outside the money economy. Financial 2021, the government released 200 billions for all parishes in this country. The focus is on implementing the following actions. 1. Recruiting 5,192 to 10,594 required parish chiefs. 2. Collection of data to guide proper planning for implementation of the model. 3. Creation of parish development committees and orienting them about the model. 4. Finalization of the implementation guidelines and orientation of stakeholders. And then 5. Setting up an implementation unit. Going forward, other activities will be undertaken, and these include training of local government officials and parish chiefs, alignment of sub-program plans and budgets to the parish development model, operationalizing the community information system, establishment and strengthening of community-based financial institutions, and strengthening the legal and the policy framework of the model. To sustainably develop and transform the economy, we need to take urgent actions against climate change and ensure the efficient development of urban centers. Let me repeat this. To sustainably develop and transform this economy, we need to take urgent actions against climate change and ensure efficient development of urban centers. Well-planned and well-developed urban centers are critical for supporting the efficient settlement of people, service delivery, and trade. To this end, the government will prioritize the following. 1. Climate change mitigation actions, including commercial tree planting, the eviction of wetland encroachers. I'm sure people will now say, there goes Kasaiji. The eviction of wetland encroachers and the restoration of the wetlands, and the enactment of bylaws by local government authorities. 2. Implementation of the integrated physical and economic development plans in the new cities and the issuance of guidelines for their operationalization. 3. Implement projects in line with the Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area Strategy. Now the financing strategy then. How are we going to get money for all these things we're talking about? The overall fiscal strategy is to promote inclusive growth, to increase household incomes and improve quality of life of Ugandans without compromising physical and debt sustainability. This will entail the implementation of the domestic revenue mobilization strategy. We have a strategy drawn. I don't know whether we have come with a copy of you people, my staff. Mugunga, do we at least have a copy of the strategy, the revenue? Please, 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 these people will give you a copy. This will entail the implementation of the domestic revenue mobilization strategy to reduce the share of budget that is financed through borrowing. This will entail implementation of the domestic revenue mobilization strategy to reduce the share of budget that is financed through borrowing. You know, some people are calling us, when I go to some place, they say, there is the minister of borrowing. I have my stuff, I also staff somewhere, wherever he appears somewhere, they say, that is the chief borrower. The DRMS aims at achieving revenue to DGP growth of 0.5 every financial year. The focus of the domestic revenue mobilization for financial year 22-23 will be more on enforcing compliance rather than introducing new taxes. Let me repeat this one for the business community. So they are complaining. You have heard it. Our traders, when we changed the little tax, they were threatening even to go on strike. Don't go on strike. We will listen to you. We will take. I have signed the letter today to help you out of that problem. The focus of domestic revenue mobilization in financial 22-23 will be more on enforcing compliance than introducing new taxes. Countrymen, people who are doing business, people who are earning, please do accept to pay your taxes due. Paying a tax is a duty, is a noble duty, it's not a punishment. When you pay tax, you are actually investing. And this I'm addressing to businessmen. You are investing in security, you are investing in health for people who will come to buy what you are producing. You are investing in roads, you are investing in power. So please, give us the taxes as they fall due. The challenge of COVID-19 pandemic has had far-reaching implications and has led to an increase in fiscal deficit. We have said that already. The slowdown in growth plus additional expenditure requirements to finance government response measures further constrained fiscal space and necessitated additional borrowing. Uganda's debt GDP ratio has since increased from 41% in financial 1920 to 49.9 as of June 2021. We have also referred to this in the past. The ratio is projected to increase to over 52.7% by the end of this financial year and peak at 51.1 at the end of financial year 22-23. Also, there are issues affecting the effective management of public debt. These include, among others, low absorption. Let me repeat this. The various sectors, please listen to this. Also, there are issues affecting the effective management of public debt. These include, among others, low absorption, access to the right of way for infrastructure projects. Parliament help us on this. And the change in global financing landscape that now offers less concessional borrowing. People are not interested to give us free money or cheap money. During the financial 22-23, government will continue focusing on recovery measures from the effects of COVID-19 pandemic to meet its debt management objectives. External financing will be driven by disbursements and new financing in the form of concessional, semi-concessional, and non-concessional, that is commercial sources. There will be continued engagement with our development partners to provide grant financing for social projects. Domestic borrowing will majorly be in the form of long-dated instruments aimed at reducing the financing risks in the public debt portfolio. The government will continue to borrow largely on favorable terms and restrict borrowing for project expenditure that are likely to enhance productivity and are critical for economic recovery. In addition, the government will consider sequencing projects and expenditure that can be postponed without causing damage to the economy until the economy recovers from the effects of COVID. We agreed that there should be no more traveling. We have taken out that money, as you know, conferences, seminars. Now that we have got this new system of doing things, that's what we should go with. Risks to the financial 22-23 budget strategy. The proposed budget strategy that I have elaborated today can only be implemented if the following potential risks are mitigated. There is a plus and a minus, where there are potential risks. One, worsening of the COVID-19 pandemic through successive waves will cause further disruption of business activities and place additional pressure on the health system. We pray that what we are hearing, that there are other waves coming, we hope the Almighty God will help us and control them. Two, failure to collect domestic revenues as planned, especially because of the ongoing effects of COVID-19 pandemic. Three, institutional weaknesses in budget implementation with numerous requests for supplementary funding. Banang, supplementary funding. Supplementary funding. Please make it properly. Madam Prime Minister, I reach a point with my staff and we say,
I can hear you.
is it still making sense to budget? The budget has been passed. The following day, you see somebody coming with a supplementary. What do we do now? So, ma'am, you really need to put us together as a cabinet on this issue. What were you doing? What didn't you foresee? I can understand certain things. I'll give you an example. Why didn't you budget properly when we have these international events, which you know? They don't. They wait. I don't know. They wait. They wait. Now, for example, now, we are going to Dubai. Was this Dubai Expo not known in advance? Why didn't we budget supplementary? Aha. It's making our life very difficult at the Ministry of Finance. I'm being very frank with you.
I will congratulate you.
Thank you. Institutional weaknesses in budget implementation with numerous requests for supplementary funding. 4, failure to align resources to budget priorities under the new program-based budgeting. 5, inadequate capacity of ministries, agencies, and local governments to implement budget priorities. Those weaknesses, inadequate capacity, we must sort them out, Madam Prime Minister. The government will ensure that it mitigates the risks within its control to ensure the implementation of the budget strategy. However, in conclusion, the budget for the coming financial year 22-23 seeks to implement policy actions to fast and foremost accelerate interventions to put an end to the health and social crisis posed by the coronavirus pandemic and recover the economy back to pre-COVID-19 levels. Secondly, we will maintain investments in fundamentals for socio-economic transformation to build the resilience of our people and a more inclusive economy that benefits all Ugandans. I will repeat this. Second, let me repeat this. The budget for the coming financial year 22-23 seeks to implement policy actions to first and foremost accelerate interventions to put an end to the health and social crisis posed by coronavirus pandemic and recover the economy back to pre-COVID level. Second, we will maintain investments in fundamentals for socio-economic transformation to build the resilience of our people and a more inclusive economy that benefits all Ugandans. These proposed budget interventions are meant to kickstart budget consultations and the preparation of the national budget framework paper for the fiscal year 22-23. The next step of this consultation process is the local government regional workshops, which provide an opportunity for leaders in those areas and technocrats of the local government to discuss specific issues and make policy proposals for consideration in the coming budget. This is where we should iron things. This is where we should state things. So that when we come to budget, we budget on what we are doing. Really, someone said to ask for a supplementary on something is that it was so obvious by when we are budgeting. It is defeating me to understand. I now employ the program working groups to discuss and come up with specific action points and detailed priorities that are well sequenced within their strategic plans and the NDP 3 program. Let me repeat. I now empower the program working groups to discuss and come up with specific actionable points and detailed priorities that are well sequenced within the strategic plans and NDP 3 program implementation plans. With these words, once again, I thank you very much for having responded so positively to our invitation. Take my messages, please, quite seriously. We must budget. We must follow the budget strictly. If I'm still the Minister for Finance, please, and you bring me a supplementary request for an event which you should have known, I may decline to help because I don't have that money easily.
You have my support.
Thank you very much. Thank you for listening to me, for God and my country. Thank you.
Another big hand clap for the Minister of Finance. Colleagues, allow me to now take the honor.
Basabule banyabo oyo ye of course ye cabinet minister akwasaganya ensonga za finance, planning and economic development omwami Matia Kasaija alambuludde embeera nga bwe tuseera zezimu kusonga zetugenda okubanga tetwongera nafu kuteeka kesira. But of course one of the key highlights zakozeeko oba zakonyeko y'ensonga eya COVID. Of course how it has affected tugenda kuba tuno of course ayogere ku nsonga ya COVID ku lwa private sector, ku ludda olwa government ne ku performance. And of course ayogedde ne ku nsonga ez'ebbanyi. Of course akutte ku sectors ez'enjawulo nga tourism. And of course njagala obategeeza nti of course budget eno gegenda ddala maaso. Uganda has a vision which is Vision 2040. Vision 2040 ebeera ne phase ya myaka 5 wenjogerera kati olunaku olwaleero tuli mu phase eyokusatu, tuli mu third of course phase of the National Development Plan of course Vision 2040 mu mwaka ogwokubiri. Mwami Javira nkyali naye ali in charge of finance and administration wano kuuzia abatwala bannamakolero amatonotono. Of course we are broadening the discussion. Waliwo ensonga ze basinze okwanako. Maybe what is your few reactions ku nsonga omwami Matia Kasaija zakonyeko zolowooza nti ziri very key to the business community and to everyone ali mu kutulaba?
Now ekisooka ffenna era nga mwami minisita bwakyogeddeko tukyali mu bakiyita kusinda
bakiyita ekiyongoberwa bakiyita okukaaba
okusinda okusinda kwa covid-19 nti covid-19 obuzibu bwe yatuteekamu kuba mwami Kasejja abadde asoma engeri gye tubadde tukola by 2018-2019 Uganda yali ekola ati 6.3 GDP percent but 2020-2021 neekola ku 3.3%. So olaba waliwo okukka okw'amaanyi.
Maybe just a few highlights. Mwami Matia Kasajja agambye ku ludda olwa domestic tax collection okusinziira ku financial year eya 2018-2019. Of course agambye there was a total decline okuva ku bitundu 16 n'obutundu 163 okutuukira ddala ku butundu 15,912.2 billion for the financial year 2019-2020. Of course kuludda olwa private sector baganda bange abawuzi abawuma aba chamber of commerce kasita mwe bawangalira there was a total decline of course of 12.2 financial year 2020 to 7.2 financial year 2022. Of course that more analysis tugenda kuba tugikola tuza mwami Jabira katsoke today kolo tulabe of course omukulu akuli esiga edamuzi of course akuli esiga edamuzi omukulu Justice Owin Dolo kyatugamba tukyali fenna tovaawo
because of obvious reasons. So I came here very expectant. I've religiously listened to the Honorable Minister and gone through his 16-page document, which is quite useful. Honorable Minister, you had said including administration of justice in my invitation. I will not say more than that. Now, the judiciary. I'll say the obvious. The judiciary is one of the three arms of government. For a long time, it was referred to most erroneously as the third arm of government. The Constitution, the laws of the land, the Constitution, the judiciary is one of the three. It is one of the three basic pillars of the Constitution anywhere in the world. What is unfortunate, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, that in this country, and I've been around for quite a while in this country, the judiciary has not been given its rightful place to be able to function, to be able to serve the people of this country. For a long time, the judiciary was made to do with 0.4% of the national budget, invariably. Just 0.4. The judiciary operates at 37% human resource capacity. And because of this, there are many places, not just one or two, a number of places in this country, Right Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Minister of Finance, where the nearest functional court, grade 1 magistrate, to the people we are here to serve is like the distance between Kampala and Jinja, 80 kilometers. Many places in this country. I see Honorable Henry Okeloriam here. The constituency he served for a number of years. It's a place called Orom. The nearest magisterial court is in Kitgum town, and that is some 70 kilometers. The district which the Chief Justice comes from, there are many places It is an area which is 4,000 square kilometers, apart from the Prime Minister. There's one magistrate. Many places where the litigant has to travel over 70 kilometers to come and be served with one magistrate. We made our case for the need for a paradigm shift in the manner we handle the judiciary. The main problem is in many of our minds, and I do not blame anyone really for it. The judiciary is there to lock up wrongdoers so that we can sleep at night, so that we can do our other activities without worrying. Let me use the occasion of this forum to say that is the smallest role of the judiciary. The biggest role of the judiciary is socio-economic transformation of the country. Anywhere in the world, and this is where the Ugandan judiciary is being trained to perform, to make its rightful contribution for the good of this country. I have said this before because I'm summarizing, just making remarks. There is a commercial division of the High Court of Uganda located in Kampala. Just one division among the over 20 High Court locations. It has got 6,094 cases unresolved. And I have 6 judges, judicial officers handling, who are tasked with the responsibility to resolve these 6,094 cases. 6. If these 6 judges were to sit every day from Monday to Sunday, the whole year, they will not resolve these matters in 3 years. And yet these 6,094 cases are worth 4 trillion shillings, 4.6, close to 5 trillion shillings locked up. Now, Honorable Minister of Finance, if you gave me 10 more judges for the commercial division alone, and I deployed 15 judges, I would be very happy if you ask me after 24 months that how are you performing in the commercial division. So it's not like you're sinking money in a non-productive in terms of socio-economic development. You're employing 10 more judicial officers in the commercial division who release 5 trillion shillings into the economy, and you're better placed to explain what that means. So we're asking, and this case, this narrative extends to land cases in this country. So much land worth hundreds of billions of shillings are locked up because I do not have the judicial officers to dispose of them. So you hear people have been fighting over land for 7 years in the magistrate's court. Then when they appeal to the High Court, it takes 3 years. Then when they appeal to the Court of Appeal, it takes another 2 years. So over 1 decade, somebody is fighting for land, and maybe there is even an order that in the interest of justice, neither of the two parties should use the land. So we need a paradigm shift. And Honorable Minister, let me thank you that you listened to our plea, and for the first time, the judiciary budget was catapulted from 0.4% to 0.8%. Allow me to thank you for that. We still look forward to the promised further enhancement. It's about 600 billion as part of the progressive enhancement of the judiciary budget, with a view to the subsequent financial year after the one which is coming next, to be able to reach the 800 billion. By that time, Right Honorable Prime Minister, you represent a constituency. I would be happy to stand here and inform you that I have a chief magistrate in every district of this country, that I have a magistrate grade 1, at least 1, in every county constituency in this country. That would greatly afford our people access to justice. By that time, I should be able to have a number of upcountry courts of appeal, because today I have only one court of appeal. It is located in Kampala. And the person who comes from Kabong, the person who comes from Kisoro, from Bwindi, from Yonde, has to come up to Kampala. It is costly, it is devastating economically for litigants. So we've started the move to locate courts of appeal up country. As you are aware, Honorable Minister of Finance, we made a decision to begin with 2 courts of appeal, one south of the equator, one north of the equator. The one south of the equator, we want to locate it in Mbarara. The one north of the equator will locate it in Gulu, the traditional capital of northern Uganda. And we've asked these 2 city governments to contribute land. We do not have the money. You will not give me money to buy land. And I report, Right Honorable Prime Minister, the 2 cities have allocated land to the judiciary for the construction of the courts of appeal. We are not asking government to make provision for the construction of those 2 courts of appeal to serve our people, so that Kampala will serve the central and east for the time being, and then Barara will serve the west and southwest, and Gulu will serve the greater north. And then subsequent to that, we will have one in Bale, we'll have one in Jinja, we'll have one in Mubende, Masaka, Fort Portal, so that we truly afford our people access to justice. Government has done very well in provision of safe water, provision of health centers from Health Center 2 to Health Center 4. The missing link is the judiciary. The moment we accept and have a paradigm shift, we can do this, and we do know very well that the judiciary will pay into the national coffers, into the economy, for the investment the government is going to put in the judiciary. It's not about locking up criminals. It's about real socio-economic development contribution by this great institution. The areas which we seek the intervention of government after the human resource development, enhancement of high court judges, enhancement of magisterial positions, Court of Appeal, and then the Supreme Court. If we achieve this, then the judiciary will be a robust institution that plays its part in the development of this country. Of course, it comes with which I see you've captured in. I see you've captured in the strategic presentation. You've made enhancement of information and communication technology. We always talk of backlog. In our country, Right Honorable Prime Minister, if a case takes 2 years in court, we say it is backlog, meaning it has stayed more than the period it should have stayed. I am ashamed to speak about 2 years. 2 years in court? My predecessor was in Malaysia. At the time, Uganda was 40 million people, and Malaysia was 30 million people. And when we were boasting of 2 years, the Chief Justice of Malaysia said 2 years? For us in Malaysia, it is 8 months. If a case has taken more than 8 months in court from the date of filing, you must explain to the Chief Justice why that is so. In writing, you the judicial officer in charge of that court. So my Chief Justice...
Ndowooza oyo ye omukulu akulira essiga eddamuzi, of course omukulu Owini Dolo naye Chief Justice w'eggwanga erya Uganda. Kasooka tuwummulemu katono, very with this commercial break. But tukomawo tugenda kuba twongera okuba ku tooki mu nsonga zino ate tuvaawo.
Smart 24, driving business.
Tusaze emiwendo kugirayo sente kusa MTN Momo. Kati gyeyo sente ku miwendo egikyasinze okuba egya wansi okuvanga lumu ogwokutaano 221 ate weefunire ne Century Points buli lw'oteekako lw'osindika oba lw'oggyayo sente ng'okozesa MTN Momo. Genda awali ba agenti baffe bonna mu ggwanga oggyeyo sente ne MTN Momo ku bisale ebisaliddwako everywhere you go.
This is Jordan. When it comes to classwork, Jordan is magic. Jordan shines. Jordan makes his peers better. Jordan is a true leader. White Star Magic family. Be a leader. Be magic.
You know, prevention is always better than cure. Let's not go for prayers in mosques, congregational prayers. Let's all value the gift of life by maintaining the SOPs. Without that, COVID-19 is with us.
Protect yourself from COVID-19 by washing your hands with soap, wearing your mask, keeping your distance, getting vaccinated, avoiding crowds, staying at home, and avoiding shaking hands and hugging.
Smart 24, driving business.
My home, I smile when I think of you, Uganda. My home. My home, I dance when I look at you, Uganda. My home, oh my Uganda.
I know with you I'll always stay forever. beat on my heart, mommy, oh my Uganda.
Hey, mama.
My Uganda.
Oh,
my Uganda.
oh,
My Uganda. My Uganda. Nikukonda. My Uganda. Amari alemira. My Uganda.
nyowe nikugonza.
My Uganda.
Amina ngojo, amina ngojo.
At MTN, we look forward to starting another exciting journey together to grow our home, Uganda.
Smart 24, driving business. Smart 24, driving business.
Sebo ne banyabo nate njagala okubaniza mmwe betambudde nabo okuvira ddala enkya olunaku lwaliro. Of course tukyali mu budget framework. Tusuubira President w'eggwanga His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni Tibuhaburwa okubanga yegatta ku bitundu wanene ku Kololo grounds okwongera okubaganya ebirowoozo n'abakulu abaliyo. Of course tulabye enkya olunaku lwaliro the cabinet minister in charge of finance planning and economic development Honorable Matia Kasaija abadde ye obaka bw'amaze obuyisa n'atulaga eggwanga we liyimiridde. Of course wetwogera kati of course the chief justice omukulu w'Owinidolo oyo nno oba his worship yakyagenda maaso okulaba nga he gives us an update of kumbeera bwefaanana. Ndine Mwami Javira, where is the connection between emikolo nga gino abamu bandibadde basuubira nti chief justice teyandibaddewo. Today I am surprised nti olaba nti yes budget framework omulabye of course ne ataye n'engeri gyayambadde. Where is the connection edididawa between Matia Kasaija as the Minister of Finance n'omukulu akulira Essiga Muzwali ne President tumusuubira in relation to budget framework? Tetujja kgenda eri nnyo.
Yes, omanyi abindoza ne gundi era ajja kubeerawo waali omukulu speaker wa parliament nandisuubidde muno yandibaddewo nandisuubidde ne chief justice okuba nti abaddewo ne Matia Kasaija. Yes, omanyi kati bino bw'oba okola budgeti tetambula yokka. Budgeti erina ebigitambuza nti Kasaija ajja kugamba muno kale tulowooza nti no tugenda kuteeka ssente mu investment bweti katugambe nga bwayogedde ku kya oil commercializing oil production. Kasaija yaba akyogedde era nga
olwakyogedde mu
capacity ng'eya finance ng'omuntu aplaningira ensi. Nti senga tuteeka ssente wano twandibadde tutuuka wano kubanga ffenna kati kyetugoberera ye vision 2040
ekirooto kya Uganda
era ng'ekimu ku bigendererwa the key output mu vision 2040 is to go to a middle status level. Now bw'obanga ekigendererwa kyo kyekyo n'olaga nti ngenda kuteeka wano ssente bwenti ne bwenti kiba kitegeeza nti gweoyinza okuba nti ogenda commercializinga oil naye ate waliwo etteeka erifuga ekyo enkola y'emirimu mugenda okutambulira. Etteeka bwe libaawo ate bano abalikwasa
abalina olitekesa mu ngalo bebalamuzi bano.
Yes, bebalamuzi. Kankuwa ekyokulabirako. Kasaija afunye ssente ezikola oluguudo. Etteeka erifuna ettaka w'oyisa oluguudo
liyita mu Essiga Dams.
Parliament erikoze weeriri era oluguudo lusobola okukolebwa ne ssente ozifunye ne mutandika okukola oluguudo ne mutuuka bwe mulina okufuna ettaka nga waliwo enkaayana z'ettaka byange si lyange gofuna ssente siri ono yafa ono yafa.
Olwo oluguudo lwanikoledda mu mwaka ogwo
olwo ne mudduka muki mu judiciary. Bwe mudduka mu judiciary judiciary nemala omwaka oba emyaka 2 tennasala musango ogwo. Jjukira zino ssente wazifuna nga ziriko interest. Olwo emyaka 2 oluguudo luyimiridde, interest ekola ki? Ekula. Kati kyova olaba nti ebitongole bino byonna biba birina okutambulira awamu.
So the representation of all the arms of government.
Exactly.
Oyina executive parliament, president agenda kubajja. Oyina parliament, nsubira nti speaker parliament wali. Oyina omulamuzi akulira Sigedamuzi naye wali. So the entire government is represented.
Bonna balina okutunula awamu ne bagamba nti tutunuulira kiri vision 2040. Era bino ono byatazamye bigenda okukolebwa. Byonna birina okujja, amateeka galina okubeerawo n'enkwasa yaako erina okukola ki? Okubeerawo. Otherwise oli bw'anaatambula yekka, noono ng'atambula yekka, noono ng'atambula yekka, mwenna temujja kutuuka ku kiruubirira. So yensonga lwaki wateekwa okubeerawo cohesion, wateekwa okubeerawo enkwatagana ey'abasatu bonna nti basobole okututuusa ku
twagala. Waliwo omuntu yangambye nti ye ebintu byakooyo okuwulira kyekintu ekya COVID-19 nti every time twogera COVID. If up to right now Matia Kasaija atulaga nti ebintu ebisinze okudisruptinga the performance of government kyekirwadde ekya COVID-19, talk about tourism akikonyeko, talk about private sector mabawuze emwangalira akikonyeko, talk about every sector. Nze mbadde ndowooza twogera kati the language of COVID towards enkulaakulana yandibadde ekomye, but even up right now olaba nti some issues
ekyo kituufu nti of course tosobola kwejjako kyaliwo. Tosobola kwejjako kyaliwo. COVID-19 yajja yatukuba. Naye ekituufu kyo nange sikkiriziganya nakyo nti ate twalibadde tukuliriza nnyo COVID-19 up to this day nga tugamba anti COVID-19 omanyi waliwo olugero omuganda agamba nti sibwavu bwavadda abejjereza munyago nti bwe baba bakubbako gwe buli kiseera anti omanyi naalibadde ntuuse wano naye banziba anti omanyi naalibadde ntuuse wano buli kiseera oba oddayo omanyi olutalo lwatuyisa bubi, omanyi olutalo lwatuyisa bubi. Ekyo ndowooza kyazze.
So twalibadde tutema ekkubo nti yes COVID yazze.
Twalibadde tulaba COVID tukivuddemu tutya, okuva wano tugenda tutya mu maaso. Amasomero gaggulawo gatya, abaana kubanga tetujja kubeera buli kiseera nga tuyimbirira kya COVID. Tutandike tutunuulire mu maaso ensi endala zikoze zitya. Sikiriza nnyo tugamba tukole oli nga bwakoze nange bwatukola, naye oyinza omulabirako n'ogamba nti abo aba akoze bw'ati. Then twalibadde tukola ki? Kino kyalibadde kituwa buwi kyakuyigirako, kubanga ate tuyinza okuba nga tuli mu COVID-19 ate amataba ne gajja, tuyinza okuba nga tukyali COVID-19 enjala nejja. Ebyo byonna kati kyalibadde kituwa ekyokulabirako ekyokuyigirako nti senga tufunye ekizibu ekirala bwe kiti, kiki ekiyinza okukolebwa, kiki kyekyandibadde nakyo. Tusobola ffe mu bizinesi tugamba nti olina okulaba ng'osobola okubeerawo obulamu bwa bizinesi obulabira mu kuba nti bizinesi esobola okukola, esobola okubeerawo wadde nga tekyakola. If you can exist without operating, kati bwe bulamu bwa bizinesi kwetubukunya.
Kigaziyemu katono kirabika ng'ekiri mu ngero
nti senga kibaddewo leero nengamba akansooka empumuzo okukola olw'ensonga zimu eziteewalika. Abakozi bange nsobola okubeera nabo, biru z'amasannyalaze ntonotono nsobola okubeera nazo, security nsobola okubeera najo, nti bwe mba mpumuddemu okumala emyaka 2, oluvannyuma lw'emyaka 2 nsobola okuddamu nenkola nga sifunye ekizibu kyonna.
So byebuuzo buli muntu yenna byandibadde yeebuuza.
Awo bwe twalibadde tutubuuza ng'eggwanga ti COVID-19 lwaki atukubye ennyo bwe tuti, kiki kye tuyinza okukola from now okugenda mu maaso, kiki kye tuyinza okukola tuleme kuddamu kuwa nga bwe twakubidde.
So tukole ki? Because njagala nnyo omuntu ali problem oriented,
yes,
but also nga ali solution oriented. Laba ekizibu kinogera eddagala tambula. So given the budget framework ene tambula, nze ndowooza what are some of the critical areas z'ogamba nti wano twetaaga okuteeka, because ojja kwesanga embalirira y'omwaka guli ogwa 2019-2020. Of course budget yaliko waggulu trillions 45. This time round of course abamu twewuunya, of course tetwewuunya nekkako wansi naye ng'ate embeera yali hard. Biki bye tuba tuteeka mu nkola ng'embalirira eno ey'okuteekateeka etandise egeno tuyamba mu eri emaaso?
Si mbalirira yokka y'omwaka guno naye okuva wano okweyongerayo
oyagala kutegekera myaka 5
ne bwe giba myaka 10. Nyinza okugamba nti ensi ezimu nga China oba America zatwetegekera dde emyaka 2 mu maaso.
Tuli mu Uganda
naye nga bo batwetegekera dde emyaka 2 era nga bamanyi kye bagenda otukolera era ne kye banaatukolera, naye ng'ate bo be batwetegekera, naye ng'ate tebatutegekera wabula nga batutegeka bo nga bwe banaatufunamu. So n'olw'ensonga eyo nze ndowooza right now kye tuliko tusooke tutunuulire obusobozi bwaffe buli luddawa, kiki kye tulina. Waliwo ebintu bingi nnyo bye tulina naye ng'ate tetubifuddeeko ne tusooka tunayiza ebirala. For example, lwaki tuimportinga nnyo okusinga twalibadde tu exportinga?
Gyemisolo gino abamu gye balowooza egizo anti gye balemesa okujja eri ebwe tukolere wano.
Anti akati bw'ogamba munno right now tulina textile kanjijjewo sobole okugira oba okimenye bumenyi. Nze nandirowoozezza nti tukitwale mpola mpola kubanga for example ero lyose noleeta ekyokulabirako ng'ekya textile, bw'oba oyagala tutandika okukozesa bye tulina oba by'obirina olina capacity esobola okuproducing engoye ffenna ze tuyinza okwambala. Oyinza okuba nga kati togirina naye ogibuildinza otya
okuteekateeka
ekyo kuba kati olaba textile industry nungi nnyo nti bw'otunira value chain yaayo etandikira ku mulimi ne wabeerawo kuba edda byalingawo omulimi stowa ginale naitiro. Kati naitiro bw'amala okukola ejjoola n'abireeta ku weekyalaani n'akolamu engoye n'akolamu amasuuka n'akolamu amasuuti. Kati awo ne gavaawo ne gagenda mu dduuka oli n'asobola okutunda paka gatuuka ku muntu akola ki asembayo. Kati olaba nti gundi chain eyo yonna buli omu guba mulimu.
Eno budget etegeeza ki eri abo betwogerako? Eno framework, budget framework.
Yes,
implication yayo etegeeza ki?
Era kyekyo okukikwatagana ku kiri kye tubaddeko nti tulina okufuna ebintu sectors ze tulaba nti yes omuzungu akiyita comparative advantage, nti bwe mba ngenze mu textile industry kansooka nkubiriza abalimi balime pamba awerako. Bwe bamala okulima pamba awerako buli mulimi nnyinza obutasobola kumumuggyako. Kati awo abalala kibandibadde tebassaamu kitiibwa naye kya middleman oluusi aba yeetaagisa kubanga agenda kuyamba okuggyayo pamba oli amuleete ku factory. Kuba buli alina kilo 5 kilo emu tajja kusobola muleeta ku factory.
Tutanyi mwami Javiira ndowooza tulina eddakiika nga ntonotono tube nga tusobola on behalf of small scale bigambo ki by'oyinza otulekera but also even on behalf of the okuzimba eggwanga Uganda in relation to the budget framework?
Kirungi ensi yonna kati ewulidde okusaba kwaffe nga ba small scalers nga ba industries nga bannamakolero nti okugenda mu maaso kye tulina okutunuulira kyonna kuteeka kwongera mutindo ku bye tukola ge makolero. Kati nga munnamakolero naddala omutonotono olina kugguka maaso n'omanya ekintu kyange nkikoze ntya okukiteeka ku mutindo buli omu w'anaakirabira. nze mba nsooka mu katale nnyonyi nkezi yeri olusiringanya
wadde olumu basobola ogirya
basobola ogirya
naye kiba kisobola okugirya
naye tunuulira kiri nti nkoze ntya nze okusookayo kubanga zino zonna kati ne theme ya budget framework kati eri ku industrialization so kitegeeza nti opportunities zigenda kubeera nyingi naye ate olusi opportunities bwe zibeera nyingi tulabyeko wano abantu abatandise business naye sanga ngaali yekka mu katale kati olwokuba ekyo ate najagikozesa bubi opportunity nekola ki omukisa ne gufuuka ekisiraani kati n'olwensonga eyo munnamakolero tulina kumanya nsoose ntya mu katale ate nenkumiddeyo ntya kubanga emikisa tegibeera gya lubeerera osobola okugendayo n'otunda naye ate niwajja ekiseera ng'ate tukyasobola kukola ki so kati yensonga lwaki olina okulaba nti guno omukisa ngukozesezza ntya weebuuze owange kino kiri kitya kino kiri kitya kino kiri kitya osobola okukola ki okutambula
ndoza tusibula
okutambula ngonna abatuuliriza twebaziza nnyo n'abatulaba nati oli asobola okukulaba naye nga takuwuliriza
mbadde sikimanye
ate noli asobola okuwuliriza naye nga ate takulaba abatuwuliriza n'abatulaba twebaziza nnyo okutuwa amatu n'amaaso ku lutimbe lwa Smart TV era ne Smart TV tugyebaza olw'okutulowoozaako si ffe bagezi abasinga naye Katonda atutadde we tuli nti ffe tulina okubatuusaako eddoboozi eryo so twebaza nnyo olw'okutukyaza ate n'okutuwuliriza nammwe abatuwuliriza ne mutuwa amatu n'amaaso okusobola okutambuza eggwanga lyaffe mu maaso
kale webale nnyo
tweyanziza nnyo tweyanzeeko
webale nnyo mwami Javiira Busulwa oyo nno ali in charge of finance and administration wano ku Uganda small scale. I must say this with confidence bwoba oli munnamakolero ng'oli eyo wandyagadde okukula okwetegeera ogenda kubanga ate weegatta ku bakulu bano basobola okubanga batuyamba ffe yugi tukyagendera ddala maaso of course tukyatuna ensonga za budget framework kansooke neegatte ku muganda wange Sonko manyi Sonko mpulira era ondaba oli mu bitundu ebyekkololo njagala otuwe embeera bwefaanana ekiseera kino ku bitundu ebyekkololo what exactly is happening Sonko over to you.
Alright, Mwami Makubya, wano wenyimiridde bwennyini tukyali Kololo wano eno okusinziira ku National Budget Conference gwe natulaba mu yugi tukole ssaawa zino nga tuli Kololo tutunuulire ku theme ya industrialization as well as wealth creation in that particular aspect inclusive otunuulira ku theme y'olunaku eri industrialization for inclusive growth, employment and wealth creation. Nga olunaku lwaleero ng'omukolo gwatandise dda emabegakaawo ng'era omuntu gwe twatandise naye yabadde Honorable Minister of Finance ye Honorable Matia Kasaija. Oluvannyuma awo twagenze ne tufuna Honorable ye Right Honorable Robin Nabanja najja naye n'awa assessment n'awa highlights ezetusuubira ku mukolo guno gwaleero. Wetwavudde awo Honorable Matia Kasaija yakomyewo mbutongole n'atuwa strategies ezigenda okulayingibwa on board okulaba nga policy zino zikwasaganyizibwa mu financial year 2022-2023 ate wetugenze maaso awo with the due cost ne tufuna Alfonso Winidoro that is the right honorable that is his grace who is in charge of that is the main man behind the Chief Justice, yes, the Chief Justice of Uganda, that is Alfonso Winidoro. Nina abako assessment jawa okusinzira ku Chief Justice neti which part does the Chief Justice or the law play in the economic development of the country. Wetuvuddawo essaawa zino tugendera tugenze mu ka lunch break abake wandiise breakfast break essaawa zino nga bakaita ka breakfast tugenda mu breakfast for around 15 minutes here in Kololo era nga gwe atwegaseeko essaawa zino MS tubadde nga tetunabatuuka mu break eno tubadde ne Miss Ara Mukami Kariuki, who is the current World Bank country director. Ngono ye abadde presenting on behalf of the Local Development Partners Group LDPG nga aina assessments za wadde nga ku bino byonna adayogera ku budget n'engeri gye bagenda okusinziira okulaba nga ebitundu bya gavumenti ebyenjawulo okusinziira ku ssente zigabiddwa. Ayogedde ku emyogo egyo. She has also noted that the budget strategy government egenda kuyamba continuing supporting us for COVID-19 response measure egenda okuba nga eteekebwawo mu ggwanga. Bye bimu ku ebyo nno ebikyagenda mu maaso waneeno we tuyimiridde Kololo nga gwe munnaffe yakatweyungako mu mbeera eno oyinza okwebuuza tuli luddawa. Tuli Kololo era nga olaba nti ola bandi gyowulira ekuba sound eyo oba okuba music eyo gwowulira ye bandi enkulu eya Uganda Prisons Force nga ye yatuyingiza ne mu mukolo ng'etuweereza national anthems eza Uganda neza East Africa. Era nga wano we tuli essaawa zino abakulu ba honorable ministers ab'enjawulo, the different dignitaries have also been available. However, what a viewer out there should note is the attendance is still the attendance that we've actually had here. It is of few people. Abantu batono nnyo abazze olw'ensonga nti tuyinza okugamba olwa COVID abalala babadde bali goberera ensonga eno via online, abamu bali ku Smart 24 TV balaba era ensonga lwaki ndowooza singa mubadde mulaba tubadde ne spaces tulina overspaced chairs here, one of which ziraze nti abakulu abamu tebalabiseeko ate bw'otunuulira mu nsonga ey'aba honorable ministers ab'enjawulo abamu tebannalabikako yadde n'akatono. Ng'era tukyaliwo wano eno nga Smart 24 kulaba nga tukutuusaako embeera nga bw'etambula wano e Kololo ku conference ya National Budget Conference for the financial year 2022-2023. Era wetunaavira mu break tujja batukutuusaako ebinaddirira nawo mwogezi anaddako nga tukyakwasaganya ensonga mu ngeri eno okulaba nti government eteekawo embeera okulaba nga financial year 2022-2023 eddabulula ekonomi y'eggwanga oba ebyenfuna by'eggwanga mu ngeri eyo kuba tukozesebwa nnyo mu ngeri eyo. Ku lw'ensonga eyo nze Joram Posonko nga nkyali Kololo, but for now tugende mu kuwummulako tufune n'obulango bw'abakama baffe. Tujja kudda naawe omulabi waffe wa Smart 24 TV.
Smart 24, driving business.
Tusaze emiwendo kugirayo ssente kusa MTN Momo. Kati gyeyo ssente ku miwendo egikyasinze okuba egya wansi okuva nga 1 Ogwokutaano 2021. Ate weefunire ne Century Points buli lw'oteekako lw'osindika oba lw'oggyayo ssente ng'okozesa MTN Momo. Genda awali ba agenti baffe bonna mu ggwanga oggyeyo ssente ne MTN Momo ku bisale ebisaliddwako. Everywhere you go.
The taste of Uganda in a new international park.
You know, prevention is always better than cure. Let's not go for prayers in mosques, congregational prayers. Let's all value the gift of life by maintaining the SOPs. Without that, COVID-19 is with us.
Protect yourself from COVID-19 by washing your hands with soap, wearing your mask, keeping your distance, getting vaccinated, avoiding crowds, staying at home, and avoiding shaking hands and hugging.
Smart 24, driving business.
My home, I smile when I think of you, Uganda. My home. My home, I dance when I look at you, Uganda. My home, oh my Uganda.
I know with you I'll always stay forever. I know, because I feel that we belong together. My home, under the sun so bright, under the moon at night, on my heart, mommy, oh my Uganda.
Hey mama,
My Uganda, my Uganda, my Uganda, my Uganda. Nikukunda, my Uganda. Amari, alemira, my Uganda,
nyowe nikugonza.
my Uganda,
Amina ngojo, amina ngojo.
my Uganda.
Wano ku MTN twesunga okutandika olugendo olulala naawe olunyuvu tukulaakulanye ensi yaffe Uganda.
Smart 24, driving business. Smart 24, driving business.
Kale njagala okubaaniza ssebo ne bannyabo. Of course tukyali mu program Uganda tukole. Nze Fred Makubya ndi muzzukulu wa Lusimbi. Of course the budget framework ekyagendera ddala maaso mu bitundu ebyekolera maaso kaawo ajja kuba twegattako ku muganda wange Sonko, one of my fellow senior journalists ajja kuba atubulya ebitugendera ddala maaso. Of course tusuubira ne president w'eggwanga His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni naye okubanga abaako watulya eggwanga weriri werituuse nebiki bye tuba tusuubira of course mu mbalirira eya 2022-2023. Of course tumanyi nti abasinga etwogera ku nsonga za budget mbamanya ebitongole nga Ministry of Finance, URA n'ebirala. Of course tumanyi nti many sectors contributing kyamaanyi okulaba nga eggwanga lyattu Uganda lino libaawo. Of course ezimu ku sectors endala zetugenda okubanga tutunulira this time round is the Association of External Recruitment Agents. Eno ya association oba kyekibiina ekikuŋŋaanya ebibiina ebitwala abannayuganda ebweru. Of course njagala okubajjukiza nti Ministry ya Gender, Labour and Social Development yetwala ebibiina bino byonna ebitwala abannayuganda ebweru. So negatiddwako Ronnie Mukundane onono ye Public and Corporate Manager oba yakwasaganya ebitongole association etwala abantu ebweru naffe bamuzzukulu wa Lusimbi abali ebweru. Tulabe where is the connection between association yeno ate n'embalirira gye tuli mu kkoonako, but also entirely waliwo abangambye nti twagala okumanya biki ebigendera ddala ebweru mu baganda baffe abali ebweru nawe tugenda kuba tukikoonako, but entirely there is also a new law gye bayisiza eri mu kuregulating omulimu guno eno. Ebyo n'ebirala bitugenda okubanga tutunulira. Loni nsanyusa okulaba.
Kalisewo. Nange nsanyusa okukusanga.
If you don't mind, manyi you don't mind. Tubuze kuba na Uganda. Tusange okutunulira ensonga zino.
Nawe bali nnyo. Abannayuganda mwenna mbalamusizza. Abali bweru eyo naye abasingira ddala abalabi ba Smart 24. Yesewo.
Kale ndowooza Emma Ronnie Mukundane. Of course tuswiminga live genda ku social media of course Smart 24 TV, that is Facebook and Twitter ne ku YouTube nako kwe tuli tuongera okubanga tukubaganya ebibuzo. Tutandike ku budget. Abasinga bagamba mwe connection yammwe eriridda wa between, do you anyway make any contribution to the budget of Uganda?
Ideally ndowooza simanyi oba ngeri nandikitandiseemu nti contribution yaffe nene nnyo. So contribution ya fenene nnyo. First of all, mu budget eno yennyini 2021 2022 batwogerako bakapturinga 9 million US dollars as monthly contribution. Naye of course zino zibaddewo nga figures dropping because of the effect ye tubadde nayo ya COVID. Naye abantu abasinga obungi oba mwenna mukimanyi nti bana Uganda bakolera ebweru batufuna emirimu kukolera ebweru sente zebakola ate baziweereza wano. So kugamba kituyita remittances. Nti oba Uganda buluse kyoyita nti foreign earning kubanga zino sente tezibadde nezijja. So zi contributing ku kinene ku economy ya Uganda. Nga COVID tena tu affecting nnyo tubadde to remitting 1.3 billion US dollars. Kugamba bobo olaba kati abakola mu Middle East wokka bano betuweereza mu mawanga nga Saudi Arabia bakolera eyo nga bo baweereza wano sente million dollars 7 buli mwaka. Izo sente olaba zisuka ne ziva mu kofi oba kuziva mu mwanyi ze kugamba mu earning. So bobo gambye nti tetulina contribution ku economy ku budget eno ndowooza oba okiyise wabi oyise wabbali. Then ekirala nti ne siku ezo sente zokka abakozi abakolera bweru zebaweereza naye tu contributing kye tuyita non-tax revenue. Omukozi oba katugezeko agenda akolera Saudi Arabia bilateral labor agreement government ya Uganda gye yasigning n'ensi ya Saudi Arabia nti Saudi Arabia wa company ya Saudi Arabia yesasulira omuntu ono oba byetagisa nga passport Interpol emukolera medicals ebyo byonna kugamba asobole tambula kati ezo sente si za Uganda. So ezo zijja kugamba government nefuna mu non-tax revenue sente za passport. Kati passport ogera ku
non-tax revenue tegeza kintu because njaga tubere ku page yemu n'abatulaba nti gwe nange tuyinza okuba tumanyi what exactly kicho tegeza bo non-tax revenue.
Kati revenues ne zisinga obungi bazijja ziberako omusolo. Kati sente zosasula mu government direct kugamba government zefuna ngekucharginze ekintu oba katugezeeko kati boba okoze traffic offense ne bakuwa penalty nti oba bakusanze ovuga oba n'ensobi gy'okoze ne bakuwa penalty eyo tebeerako musolo kye tuyita non-tax revenue. Kati nezino sente zosasula zowa mu government tezibeerako musolo. Government ezifuna nezijja direct mu coffers zaayo. So kati kimu ku ekyo ze sente zisasula ku passport kati average emitwalo 4 kubanga kati bwosasula ordinary emitwalo 25 olinda biki naye kati singo obungi abantu baffe bakozesa za mitwalo 4 express no sasula olindako naye on average ne statistics ezava mu Ministry of Internal Affairs bali ba processing about 15,000 passports a month.
Ezo zona sente zingira mu government ezo contributing
zigenda direct mu government. So 15 to 30,000 of course babira muna affected by COVID ne bagalawo naye wajukira some time back before June this year nga lockdown wabirangawo a lot of traffic ku Ministry of Internal Affairs nga abantu bonna banonya ki passports naye abasinga obungi tebanonya passport kugenda kukyala oba kugenda kusoma naye basinga obungi abagenda kukola. So abasinga obungi nga bayite waffe so nga sente zino zisasuliddwa. So government efunamu otuka ku Interpol certificate of good conduct mitwalo 7
zino zonna sente
ezo sente zonna zisasula government nefuna direct nga zivudde mu sector eno. Omuntu agenda soma oba agenda ku kyala tebamusaba pass Interpol naye abagenda kukola ne kati boyita kololo ku Interpol traffic ejjudde wali jam gyosangawo jaba abantu baffe abagenda kukola bweru. So of course naye ekyo tujja kyogerako challenges zetusange eyo oba current issues ezitufuna naye zo sente zonna zijja wano.
Manyi nti emabega kutwa discussing COVID effect on the external recruitment agency, but allow me to koneko a few things because ebimu ku honorable minister akwasaganya ensonga za finance ayongedde okulaga nti still COVID abadde ne effect yamanyi ku all the sectors. I think it is partly what tuli is because of this. So briefly Manyi, we've had a discussion about this for a very long time. But tuweko ka effect nkaita ka effect because tugenda kuspending akadde katono ku nsonga eno. Give us an effect of COVID engeri gye bayingiddemu interne ebanga ne affecting budget yene bali mu kwogerako.
Webale nnyo effect ya COVID kuffe tebadde ntono. First of all ku lockdown yasooka ya 2020 twali complete closure Complete closure kitegeeza nti tetwali companies zaffe zaali teziggulawo, government declaring yakola minister then ya issuing statement nti sector eno tejja kukola. So ennyonyi entebe ekisaawe kyali tekikola. Mu budde obwo abantu Uganda basukka mitwalo 4 bafiirwa chances zokufuna emirimu kugenda kukola ebweru, because on average then we're taking about 5,000 people a month. So obudde obwo twamala mu lockdown eyo aba bantu bafiirwa chances ezo. Obudde obwo twalina abaana baali batambudde abakomawo bali midway nti tebanatuuka ku destination countries ne bakomawo, ezo ticket zaafa. Obudde obwo companies zaffe then they were about 200 nga on average company ebeera n'abakozi nga 2. So abakozi abasuka mu 14 obudde babumalika nga tebalina kye bafuna, tebaanya omusaala gwonna. So that's how much this hit us and also hit the economy. N'obudde obwo nka Bank of Uganda statistics they are releasing, then there was a drop of about $200 million more annual remittances, a drop of that. You can see how much that
and there's an effect, of course, in the budget na yewe
definitely. When we couldn't receive it as a country, of course it had a direct effect on the economy in general. So byebimu ebyo ntolaba direct effect ezo nti tukolagana ne different sectors into abantu baffe baranga nnyo. Media houses by that time they couldn't get announcements kwanga sector yali and we could lose about 1.2 billion more Uganda shillings more advertising. So ezo sente zonna teza fuluma oba tezajja.
Okay. Kale abasinga of course manyi bwe ya discussion external recruitment agents mutera zuulira nti waliwo gundi ali stranded ebweru, gundi bamukoze kino. I personally think that the external recruitment agencies play a very key role towards the development of the country. Yes, olumutuulira nti waliwo issues, but me I know nti ebina bitwala abana Uganda ebweru bina contribution ya mangi likola ku economy. Bwe bibanga stebafunye sente era ne gwanga da Uganda lisubwa sente eziwerako ddala. Of course this discussion is mu kaseera nga tuli kololo tuli ku discussing budget framework. Minister Kasaija ye amaze okwogera ate n'omukulu akuli esigeddamu naye amaliriza ate tusuubira president w'eggwanga okubanga naye atwegattako okusobola okutuwa nga ye president. Of course ekisanja kino kyose omwaka guno ogusoose ebintu bitambudde bitya n'embalirira ejja egenda kuba etambula etya. Of course this discussion also mu kaseera nga there is a new law abakulu bano ebibiina bino ebitwala abana Uganda ebweru ebiri mu umbrella ya Uganda Association of External Recruitment Agents waliwo etteeka ebize lize kukola ki lize kulungamya ki kiki ekibaddewo so that kiki ekituleetedde okulaba nti tulina amendment mu law.
Amendment eno ndowooza eriri overdue kulw'ensonga nti etteeka libadde tutambulirako libadde lya 2005. Sector eno tumanyi nti it's a government program, labor extension, one of the others under the Ministry of Gender, naye ebadde tutambulira ku mateeka ga 2005. Olaba kati tuli mu 2021 kwegamba ebyaliwo then nga 10 so nga 16 katugezeeko. So ebyaliwo then teyinza kuba bikyali byebimu kati. Of course even the number of destination countries then is already projected teyinza kuba kati zezimu ne economy ne sente zakyuse of course. So gamba byebimu ebyo bataddeko essira ne babeera nga bakoze amendment eno. Mu bino highlights kwegamba
what are some of the few things etteeka ekadde ibadde bya addressing byogamba nti waliwo ebitabadde mu ebitutuusa nga tunaba kutuuka kuli nepya.
No, of course kati ddyo libadde sinza dinenya of course etteeka libaddewo, so tubadde tutambulira ku ebyo mpozi oba betwandiise nga governing authority government ndoze of course ebadde naye ewulira nti bantu bali kubamu nnyo toki ne beebuuza ku kino what's the status on this biki ebyo byonna. So ne basalawo nti bakole amendment eno nga bakole review by engaging stakeholders nga IOM being one of the partners eyambyeko kulaba nti etteeka lino libeere amended, but I may not speak so much into the past one now kati tetukyaliko. So ne bibaddemu biyise kati
tusembere wano.
So ompozi mulino nti highlights olaba nti zikyuse nnyo mubaddemu kubeera olina company. First of all it's a right of any Ugandan kubeera nti oyingira business eno oba ofunira bana Uganda emirimu ebweru naye nga oli licensed, so ddembe lyo yamuna Uganda naye baddewo ebyetaagisa nti katugezeeko nga bank guarantee. Bank guarantee muteeke kadde abadde eyogera ku $5 million naye kati mulina eripya eyogera ku $1 million. nti olina kubeera ne bank guarantee ya million 10 gyowa government.
Why the increase?
Of course ndowooza balabye maybe outcries, maybe there's need nti balabye oluusi kiba kyetaagisa nti
oba mwagala kupushinga feva makulu ya mu business abasobola okuaffordinga million 5 nga zile 10 Uganda afford.
Of course naffe kati tusobola sanyukira kya million 10 nga zipase, because ideally you would say you'd open it to, you'd give chance to every Ugandan to try this out. Naye ndowooza bo nga technocrats batudde ne balaba nti maybe million 5 ezibaddewo oluusi zibadde tezimala kwegamba company weba operating outside the law ne bagi oba ne bagi license ne bagi revoking. So part of what they're supposed to do is to touch that money. Ezoba wadde nga bank guarantee oluusi balabye banza kuba balabye nga teziwera, so ne basalamu nti ba increasing byebimu ebyo. Then a training period to abantu bano betutwala ibweru tusooka bayisaamu kyetuyita orientation oba abantu abangi bamanyi nga training, kubanga abantu bano baba tebamanyi first of all mubeera mu issues za culture, mubeera mu issues za technology. Oluusi kati nga ba domestic workers oyinza kumujja omukyalo eyo waffe eyo naye nga tamanyi oluusi ne pass flat iron nga amanyi eno ya box oba bakozesa mu kyalo yamanyi kati natuuka wana ate n'asanga eno endala technology. So enabbi muyisa mu microwave washing ebyo byonna. So kibadde kitwala week emu, kati muno omuteeka epya budget increase in 2 weeks. I think of course it has the curriculum naye badde developed with the help of IOM nga ne ministry government nga babikolako so as a key partner. So byebimu ebyo the government key highlights is muteeka epya.
Okay. So tulowooza nti etteeka lino of course lina kyerigenda okubanga litwongerako of course as ebitwala abana Uganda ebweru nebina basically ebirala. So let's look at now the status quo. Of course like I my update each and every other time mulimu gwa maulegano there is always an update. Put us to a stand of abakozi abali mu bitundu ebyebweru bwe bayimiridde basically.
Abantu kati actually ndoza wananjitandikidde nti eno lockdown gye tubaddemu yakagwa oba for other sectors kya continuing ya June gye relaxinzeemu kati nti fe twalirake sector eno nesigala ikola as compared to the other year. So kati kuva batugulawo in 2020 December ntutoze tulaba trend y'abantu abagende bweru increasing. Twatandika mu December 2020 tulina abantu twatwala abantu 5, January ne tutwala 2,207, March ne tutwala 15,000 mu basukamu, mu April nga tulaba abantu bayingira mu Kanana, mu May nga tulaba abantu batuka mu basuka mu twalo mu 10,000 bwetutyo kugamba at most recently mu budde buno wadde mulumu webadde bitusomooza nga training centers zigale naye mu budde buno ba July, this period July August tulabye nti August alone registering over 13,000 travelers. So kiba kiraga nti opportunity tubadde nayo but challenges zibaddewo nti tubadde twala already abali cleared mu system, then number 2 nabali already trained kubanga kati challenge eriwo nti training centers tezikola, so kati tusobola recruiting abapya. Then Minister of Internal Affairs twalaba babadde bagaddewo nga teba issue nga passports empya, so kugamba byebimu ebyo bitusanze nga challenges but otherwise the status is as good as I've mentioned. Then number 2 maybe developments kati ezijja nti nga mu Saudi Arabia embassy yaffe ya Uganda in Riyadh ewandikidde tegeze fulumye ekiwandiiko ngetegeza ba partners baffe bonna abali mu Saudi Arabia oba betwandiise foreign companies the other side ziri accredited nti bajja kuziddamu kati ku re-evaluating. They want to re-evaluate and re-accredit based on the new law kubanga etteeka lipya, so they have to relate to that kubanga etteeka lino epya lyazzeemu lina engeri nabo bali waliwo engeri libakoonako. There are requirements, financial requirements that they are supposed to make to the embassy for orders to be processed, so bagenda kola re-accreditation eyo. So they have given them I think up to that exercise is already on. Number 2 the most important nti police ya Saudi Arabia in particular egenda kola sweep, egenda kola specific operation nti enonyereze bana abaana betera kuyita nti runaway badduka muntu agenda company deployings nti agenda kukola wano ye nadduka mu kubanga waliwo abamu
tugenda tuka mukitundu ekyokubiri. Why the emphasis on Saudi Arabia?
No, because Saudi Arabia as it is now Uganda has bilateral labor agreement in Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
So kati yenkolagana eriweeyo tetuyinza kwogera Dubai, tuyinza kwogera yes twasayininga ne Dubai naye tetugiteekanga mu nkola. So Saudi Arabia government clearing out against Saudi Arabia, so we cannot talk about those other countries for specifically domestic workers where we do not have bilaterals.
kale ndoza nzikiriza tubenga tumulamu katono basabone banyabo of course tuli mukubaganya birowoozo of course we are looking at the contribution of external recruitment as a jedina ku the performance of course discussion ene zem kasera nga atene budget framework nayo ekyagenda ddala maaso tukwata wano ne tukwata ne wano but entirely tumanya nti bana bakulu batuwa sente mmeka nga abayuwero bange ebine bitwala abana Uganda ebwe mu kitundu kyaffe ekyokubiri ndoza ate galubindi tugenda kuba twongera okuzigazia of how they are performing of cost of
Smart 24, driving business.
My home, I smile when I think of you, Uganda. My home. My home, I dance when I look at you, Uganda. My home, oh my Uganda.
I know with you I'll always stay forever. I know, because I feel that we belong together. My home, under the sun so bright, under the moon at night, on my heart. Mommy, oh my Uganda.
Hey mama,
my Uganda.
Oh,
my Uganda.
Oh,
my Uganda. My Uganda. Nigokone. My Uganda. Amari, alemira. My Uganda.
nyowe nikugonza.
My Uganda.
Amina ngojo, amina ngojo.
At MTN, we look forward to starting another exciting journey together to grow our home, Uganda.
Smart 24, driving business.
Corona taliko mugezi, taliko musiru, taliko mugagga, taliko mwavu. Tugayaliridde okubeera nga twambala obukokolo nga tulowooza nti corona taliiwo. Tugayaliridde ebyo byateekebwawo gavumenti ne minisitule y'obulamu wabula corona kasogayalira ebyo ebimukutuusaako corona akukwata atayinza n'okugyawo obulamu bwo.
Weewala okukwatibwa akawuka ka COVID-19 ng'okola bino wammanga, naaba mu ngalo ne sabbuuni, yambala masiki yo, teekawo akabanga wakati wo n'abakuliraanye, weewala omujjuzo, sigala ewaka, weewala okukwata mu ngalo wamu n'okwegwa mu bifuba, genda bakugeme.
Blue magic is my joy. Ono blue magic wange. Ayo talaba kumabala atukuza nonyirirawo kirako enyange tayisa bubi faburiki kyonna kyekiri kigwa lwa blue magic is my choice. Ono blue magic ye wange. And the blue magic is my choice. Hey, ono blue magic ye wange. Yeah.
Smart 24, driving business. Smart 24, driving business.
nate njagala okubebaza mu bakatwegattako. Of course we are still making a contribution okulaba nga tuzimba eggwanga. Of course the budget framework nga bategeeza ekyagendera ddala maaso mu bitundu ebya kololo wanene. Of course tusuubira president w'eggwanga His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni okubanga naye yeegatta bitundu ebyo asobole otubuulira eggwanga ate werituuse. Of course embalirira ya 2020 to 2023 zezimu ku nsonga zibali mu kubaganyaako. And of course we know the external recruitment agency oba association etwala baganda baffe ebibiina ebitwala abannayuganda ebweru nabo balina contribution y'amaanyi gye bakola. Of course erungamizibwa Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development. Emphasis yo mu kitundu ekisoose badde more to do with Saudi Arabia. Simanyi lwaki?
Saudi Arabia tukiteekako nnyo emphasis oba essira nnyo ku lw'ensonga nti gavumenti ya Uganda oba kati bilateral labour agreement oba endagaano eriwo kati eyokutwala abannayuganda oba kufunira abannayuganda emirimu ebweru eri between Uganda and Saudi Arabia. Tulina between Uganda and Jordan which was put on hold pending review. Then twasainingako ne UAE naye yo tegendanga mu nkola. So kati eriwo oba tuyita eri operational ya Saudi Arabia. So emphasis yaffe ebeera ku Saudi Arabia ne companies kati zitwala abantu singira ddala category ya domestic workers baba bakutwala mu Saudi Arabia wokka. So emphasis attention yonna ebeera ku Saudi Arabia as for now.
Okay. Because I know there's waliwo update empya ekwata ku of course the recruitment of foreign partners era still mu bitundu byebimu. Tuyambe kwogaziya ekintu ekyo.
Kati bilateral labour agreement eno ya signing between Uganda ne Saudi Arabia mu bimu ebyo ebirimu nti the Ugandan company automatically will get a partner from Saudi Arabia. Naye nga partners abo oba of course company ebeera wano Uganda bwefunira omunayuganda omulimu nekujja mu kyalo nejja nekugamba nti ogenda kukola kino nekutraininga eba tesobola kukutwala eri nti ebeereyo naawe kugamba abeerayo company mu Saudi Arabia ekureceiving ne job order weba evudde. So company eyo kubeera authentic nti netukkiriziganyiza nayo nti yes ono mutuufu asobola kufuna bannayuganda mu bilateral labour agreement mwekiri nti embassy yaffe eya Uganda mu Riyadh yeba confirming anti yes eno company is registered first of all in Saudi Arabia by the Ministry of Labour ebiri nti birina bibyo byennyini binabeera nabyo babiri mu mateeka accommodation biki byonna ebyo byetaagisa. So embassies kijikakatako kubeera ekola what they call evaluation which leads to accreditation. So kati kyekimu nti kati eteeka engeri likyuse kati nabo still eri ku embassy bagenda kuddamu bakole re-accreditation re-evaluation balabe nti indeed zino companies zibalina kati eri zezo zenyine zitukiza ebisaanizo as per the new law.
Okay. So hoping ndoza tekero lijja kubanga te likyusibwa. Of course lunaku lwa Mando omanyi nti wabeerawo press briefing and one of the key issues mukyala Egoyo manyi yali ku ludda trafficking. The number is increasing worrying. Simanyi either mwete mukoze gwammwe as iwero okusomesa abantu nti the right channel of ogenda ebweru, this is the right channel oba olumuntu gwenda out of ignorance, but I mean omwendo gw'abantu bulabika ng'ogweyongedde.
Ndowooza ffe tukola ogwaffe tugezaako nnyo kutegeeza bannayuganda nti posa aba ayagala agenda kukola ebweru anayita mu kampani eri license. Ndowooza ne mukyala Agnes Goye kyekimu kyaba akuutira bannayuganda. Naye tulina mumanya nti first of all waliwo push factors wano nti waliwo of course covid yo ate kisuusiza nnyo nti nezibadde unemployment level yo ate gipushinze nnyo n'abadde balina mitono gye bakola nakyo giweddeko nti so nekicreating a kind of disparity nti omuntu abeera awulira nti ayagala agenda kukola immediately now okitegeera. So even when we tell them look go through a licensed company, because through a licensed company mulimu stages nti kati mva kwogerako 2 weeks of training.
Okay.
Ajja kubeera mu 2 weeks of training. So omuntu ajja kubeera nga amala obwo obudde nga bamu traininga mubeera mu processing of the passport bibeera mu obudde obwo mubeera mu Interpol. So osanga nti which we are going again contesting in the new law because the law and the agreements zigamba nti you extend the person within a month. Sometimes kati whatever process it's not possible. So naye kati oli aba ayagala genda kukola bwe byonna tabyagala birinda. So kati trafficker taking advantage eyo nti ye aba asobola mutwala indeed asobola mutambuza within a week. bwaba afunye passport bino ebirala training tebimukwatako Interpol tagiyetaagisaawo so kwegamba ate kati situation ebadde even worse by the delays ziriwo current nti kati wogenda ku Interpol in particular companies zaffe bwezi applying for Interpol for these candidates bwokola application kati bakuwa date yeri mu November oba end of October so there's a lot of delay already kati already kibakikususiza ate companies those are they incur extra cost, losses kubanga mu agreement here jibaba signinze between the created company eri Uganda Saudi Arabia na fewano no company fewano normally talks about 30 days or maybe 45 so sanga kati already company we're booking it at Interpol to get the Interpol obojifuna in about a month or two or so vakwe echo jagenda mu training which now is closed you see because the training centers are now closed and we're trying to discuss with the Ministry of Gender wankati training centers are not under Ministry of Education they are accredited by Ministry of Gender but because waliwe that blanket cover ya training centers to be closed naffe kati zino ziri closed so what happens you get it do we wait for the other normal institutions to open maybe not naye as it is ziri closed so nebiramu ezo delays which the traffic atabiyitamu ebyo byonna tukugamba tubadde maybe just a while ago Dubai badde nzigale luckily or unluckily now Dubai nzigule abasinga obungi Uganda bagala genda Dubai ate kati tukimanyi nti kugenda Dubai all you need is you go with the money for the ticket ejirako visa you go anywhere you travel as a tourist you travel whichever way so Uganda banji kugamba yes the numbers could be growing because of that and simply also because the companies are facing a lot of delays technical delays but also they cannot recruit now as I said earlier tebasobola recruiting wanga process eyo inangeri je yimiriramu so abatambula emirimu joji abantu baluzinga abagala genda kola webali they will find always
regarding unemployment was that too so because one of the strategy of crime unemployment okumanya nti emirimu ejiri mu gwanga tejimala one of the strategies of course approach efanana ko bweti oloza regarding unemployment how far have we moved
no of course for us we contribute so much in fighting unemployment kubanga kati bolaba the numbers we have about 170,000 Ugandans about the Middle East ngabakora most of those have been facilitated by our members to get these jobs engeri nkugambye luli nti first of all katubadde tuogerako ku effect ya COVID we're externalizing then about 5,000 cutting core statistics now last month alone about 13,000 Ugandans so ulaba nti if we're talking about 13,000 Ugandans companies tulabye kati most recently tulabye Afrisale galawo people are losing jobs now if for us we're going an extra mile to find jobs for those who would actually be most affected ndikati ebintu webiri bano ababadde betuita low skilled oba unskilled chances of fune emirimu ziri ntono naye kati ffe tugezaako nnyo we can even create jobs for about 13,000 and tubafunire emirimu
of course there's some simple update coming in from Kololo of course the budget framework is ongoing of course the executive director of Civil Society for Budget Advocacy Omwami Julius Mukunda ayina obaka bwali mukutuwa bitunde by'Kololo kasoke tuddukeyo katono tulabe ekiriyo naye tukyagendera ddala maaso.
The third, Honorable Prime Minister, is that despite the challenges we are facing, when we compared the financial 2019-20 and 2020-2021, we realized that revenue collection was actually increased by 14.9%. We commend the leadership at URA for this achievement amidst these challenges, an indication that if things were better, we definitely be in a better position. Honorable Prime Minister, I wish also commend the Minister of Finance for organizing the National Budget Month, which allowed the citizens of Uganda to engage in the budget process. Involving citizens in the budget process is critical in promoting transparency, and it also promotes ownership. This activity is special because it is a joint effort between civil society and government through the Ministry of Finance. Honorable Prime Minister, also one of the key elements we have also appreciated is that you have listened. The last COVID stimulus package was a beneficiary to the rich boys and girls of this country.
But we are now aware that specifically we are now targeting the small and medium enterprises, which is very critical because they are the bedrock of this economy. We look forward for increased transparency on how this fund is going to be utilized. Well, Prime Minister, let me mention a few areas of intervention we think, if we address, can mitigate the COVID effect, but also lead us to a quick recovery. First and foremost is we need a programmatic pathway to reducing domestic arrears. The government strategy of publishing arrears is commendable, but it is imperative to mitigate the perennial creation of domestic arrears beyond the commitment control system. What we are asking the Prime Minister is enforcement. For the proposed action to enforce penalties and sanctions to those who continue to commit arrears following the finalization of the validated arrears stock. Secondly, inadequate financing for the parish model, development model. While Uganda decentralization structure establishes parish wards as administrative units, the budgetary and institutional readiness remain short of the requisite provision. The National Planning Authority estimates that it requires 1.9 trillion annually to operationalize the parish model, in which the budget provisions are significantly lower. While the service delivery model is essential, there is risk of creating structures without requisite implementation tools. High cost of public investment. Uganda compares unfavorably to its neighbors in public investment efficiency score and also below the average of world 127 countries included. The delayed implementation of e-procurement strategy has promoted procurement malpractices. In addition to the poor preparation of project implementation, a special recognition of the right of way. In financial 2019-20, government of Uganda spent a close $11.8 million on court processes that dated 2018 because of delayed completion of transmission lines due to lack of right of way. Low investment to human capital development. I concur with our colleagues, the development partners, that we need to scale up investment in human capital development. Uganda spends around 2.5% of its GDP on education, half the average of low-income countries, as well as the East African average, and 6.5% of GDP on health, nearly half the 2006 share of GDP. Consequently, completion rates have dwindled, and catastrophic expenditure in health continues to prevail, associated with higher out-of-pocket. These outcomes have been worsened by COVID pandemic, with continuing close of schools that nearly 11 million students Ugandans are out of school. We need to upscale our investment in human capital development. In universal social protection, alleviate poverty, inequality and social exclusion. Honorable Prime Minister, according to 2019 State of Uganda Population Report, access to social protection remains limited, with contributory social security reaching only 15% of the workers in employment. We definitely need a stronger social protection system. Enforcing fiscal discipline. In order to achieve the results we want, we have to execute the budget according to how it is planned. Although COVID is being used as an excuse for supplementary budgeting, the practice has now been misused. The PFMA Act is clear on what a supplementary budget is: unavoidable, unabsorbable, unpredictable, or unforeseeable. But when we purchase vehicles in the middle of the financial year, when we pay salaries in the middle of financial year, when we want to make compensations under a supplementary budget arrangement, Honorable Prime Minister, allow me to say, this is poor planning. Another element under fiscal discipline, Madam Honorable Prime Minister, are irregular payments. According to the Auditor General's Report 2020, a
The review of payroll data and if mispayment of 174 local governments revealed that 5 local governments had made irregular transfers worth 2.8 billion. Irregular transactions included payments to private companies that did not provide services, fictitious payment deductions, and supported transfer wage funds to general fund disguised as local government tax. These are clear mismanagement of public resources that require a very clear and urgent remedy so that we enforce fiscal discipline in government. Inadequate coordination among MDAs. Madam Prime Minister, this is actually directed to the Office of the Prime Minister. Duplication and lack of coordination continue to be a big challenge in the government. I recently found out that actually a government department can sue another in a government court on a small thing such as sharing of property. I then realized that it will be extremely difficult to clear domestic areas. Because in that process, whether you win or lose, the Minister of Finance must look for the money to pay the person who has won and also to finance our Honorable Chief Justice to prosecute a case. We strongly believe, Honorable Prime Minister, that you can do away with this immediately by issuing guidelines to say for any government department that has issues with another, they should come to your office and you settle them. Duplication of, just hear this. Kampala City Authority would like to build industrial parks. Fantastic. But Minister of Agriculture also wants to build industrial parks. Fantastic. Uganda Investment Authority would like to build industrial park.
Go to our website and download the latest WordPress.
But we also have the Free Zones Authority mandated for this kind of work. This duplication increases the cost of business in this country, increases costs on our treasury, and we know it is something again that you can clearly eradicate with your powerful office. Investing in planning and research. Madam Prime Minister, those who failed plan to fail. 54%.
Now open the file manager of our subdomain and upload the WordPress file by drag and drop option, or you can also select the file
by the national to the National Planning Authority.
Wait for a few seconds.
Only 54%. Only 4 out of 18 program working group and AMP.
I want to mention that my main domain is
operational. The rest are operating at half capacity, and some are not even operating at all. How are we going to achieve the aspirations of the National Development Plan 3? Again, Honorable Prime Minister, I know that your office can immediately deal with this. That's why when you don't have a plan, you cannot.
Okay, here we have WordPress
Put
folder.
a stop to that.
Now delete this zip file because we
Reducing
don't need it
administrative
anymore.
costs on government.
Open the
Honorable Prime
folder
Minister, we will count
extend
government
it to our
to implement the
file
rationalization of government,
Select all the files.
departments, and agency policy.
And now
But the process is very slow and painful, especially for those whose agencies are likely to be merged. You don't want to wake up every morning and they say we are going to merge you, and it takes 3 years for you to be merged. We look forward for a very clear roadmap and clear guidelines on how agencies are going to be rationalized. Lastly, Honorable Prime Minister,
okay, our next step
fighting
is to create
corruption
databases. For this, go to your
further
CNR dashboard
investment.
I request that you pause a bit. I want us to welcome the Vice President.
database
Stand up.
in the search bar. MySQL database. Now click on this option and create a new database.
So as we pause and wait for the Right Honorable Prime
Please
Minister,
do remember one thing. Note down
the
all
Right
these
Honorable Chief Justice
domain
and Prime Minister and the other delegates to receive
Notepad.
Her Excellency the Vice President of the Republic of
Those are abakulu ebyo byebigenda ddala maaso mitundu ebyekollo and of course mu budget framework ekyagenda ddala maaso era ndowooza olabye Executive Director wa Civil Society for Budget Advocacy omukulu Julius abadde naye alina contribution gyako. Of course tusuubira ne different other key players. I'm expecting the Executive Director of the Public Sector Private Sector Foundation Mwami Francis Kisirinya najja kuba maaso kawa twegattako. Of course the president will come and crown. Ndine Mwami Roni mukundane. Of course Mwami Roni njagala ndoza tuumbe ensonga eno tulabe engeri gye tukola ki. Finally of course waliwo update ezigamba nti of course enyonyi zibadde ziri wansi eza Uganda but finally they've been licensed, now they are flying. Contribution kyolooza kino kigenda kutwongerako kinga eggwanga as we plan to wrap up.
Of course, first of all, we are very, very glad. The moment we got news then, Uganda ifunye enyonyi, I think the most happy people were us. Banga sente nyingi tuzispeninga mu tickets, I think to sasula companies zebweru. Of course nga tulabanga Emirates twafuna even if you pay so much attention. Airlines zali tezijja wano nga fly Dubai, zitako zine za Sudan nga zajja wano specifically to take Ugandans going to work abroad and specific routes Middle East. So and within this period maybe chira chinza kulagako effect impact yaffe nti mu budde wa lockdown ya June SMBA yo second lockdown mu budde wa June now August and all that twategira ko nti Dubai yet closing nayo kati yet closing aba travelers kuva mu Uganda kiba kitegeeza nti enyonyi zaayo nga Emirates zali tezijja Entebbe tezitwala mu tezikyajja wano Entebbe fly Dubai nga tejja then Ethiopia nayo ne bagi closing Saudi Arabia nga tesobola yingira so kitegeeza nti Ethiopia Airlines nayo yali tesobola twala ne Rwanda Air nayo nga yali so if ne kisigala nti twasigaza gwa kuchataringa nti companies zaffe abantu baffe.
What do you mean by chartering?
Chartering kupangisa twandibangye nga special ngatunga omuntu nga bapangisa motoka ka special fenaffe nga tubeera nga tuchataringa watupangisa ennyonyi kuvira ddala Saudi Arabia nezijja wano nezikima abaana abantu abagenda kukola ebweru nezibatwala ate mu budde obwo nkolaze mu August yokka twatwala abantu abasooka mu mutwalo gumu mu 13. So ate ennyonyi zino nga buli ticket sasula si wansi wa $10 ze million nga 3 mu mitwalo nga 7 plus. So ezo sente kati Uganda Airlines obagiwadde license nti ennyonyi zaayo zine ebbiri the Airbuses zisobola kati to fly to this Middle East in particular Dubai. So kuffe the moment they got that license we started negotiating with them getting into a partnership tulabe nti sente zino zibadde to spending ku charters ate to spending wachi to chartering ekyaffe Uganda Airlines so sente zino zibire zimwe ezo extra contribution kubanga bogattamu $10 yenkugambe ticket times 13,000 obola aba sente meka indeed that spending and now if this money comes in here it will be very good. Of course those are some of the things and it will be now direct contribution even on ticketing vaka tukubira biri naye atende ku ticketing ne ku flights ziba ziddawa ne waffe so it's a very big contribution. Then on top of that engeri gye government obudde obwo most of those airlines were suspended kitegeeza nti Entebbe airport yasigalanga of course fe tukyonyumirizaamu nti we were able to play our part and sustain of course their operations using the charters. Of course airlines endala zijja naye kusingira ddala obungi zi charters zaffe so single labor extension yali naffe batatukola I do not know what would have happened to the airport.
Kale ndowooza abasibe ne banyaba ensonga of course za external recruitment agents tosobola zidigestinga ku lunaku lumu but of course like for more any other update ndowooza we work in touch with ne office y'abakulu bano okusobola okulabanga every detail. I strongly believe and understand nti external recruitment agents zina contribution ya maana of course even of course ongoing between wanene byekolo mukuru nga tumaliriza what information bwaka kiboyagano kubanga otulekera
still kubiriza bana Uganda nti ekimu kati of course engeri ensi eyimiridde nti there is a lot of unemployment of course fe tukiraba wano direct nti chances z'okufuna emirimu ebweru weziri naye tukubiza nnyo bannayuganda nti bakikole mu mateeka nga bayita mu mateeka bayitamu batya ng'oyise mu company registered kibeere nga
So how do I know? Yes, maliringa tumaliza nacho chikulu. So how do I know nti no company nkulu? Of course omanyi nti NSD was every walo already zaba sanctioning. Either am license bazi sazam abamo ba maybe it was complete. Okusunza ku update ndoza ayogerera internal affairs je batwa omukulu Jacob Siminyi. So ogambe abantu balina okubanga bali well qualified. How do I know? Yes, we know sibo bitugamba nenze manyo okuyiga tekugwa. Ekyo somesa leero n'ekyo bolina okukiddamu. So in 1 or 2 minutes, how do I know nti no company legally registered? Nti nsobola okugiyitamu.
Webale nnyo. Actually kyembadde nzirako nti how do you know nti oba company otegeera otya nti bwekugamba nti yita mu company licensed otegeera otya nti company licensed. Waliwo mirundi ng'esatu gyoyinza kukozesa bw'oba obeera mu Kampala tukusaba nnyo nti funa obudde ojje ku Ministry ya Gender and Labour waggulu wa CPS wotuukawo obuuza ku bya company kutwala abantu ebweru bajja kulaga department ki oba oyinza kujja ku Iwera ku BMK House katugezeeko nti tofunye obudde kujja mu Kampala tuba tubeera mu Kampala mu district yonna gy'obeera omuntu ayinza kutuukira office ya DISO oba ya RDC oba district labor officer babeera ne list eyo katugezeeko nti omuntu tasobodde tambula ate oba office ezo zimuleme tasobodde zifuna ku simu abantu abasinga obungi kati balina smartphones nti oba osobola kugenda ku Google noteekamu notypingamu licensed recruitment companies in Uganda kimala ekyo ejja kukuleetera poto ya imis bwokirikinga ya government poto ejja kuwa companies zonna ate ne status zaze eba suspendinze ejja kulaga nti kati eri suspended of course eziri licensed ezikyabeerako baba bazijjako so muntu abeera nga asobola ate obakubira notegeera n'emirimu ki egiri approved muntu abeera nga tebamufeeza nti company eno oluusi babeeramu actually channel empya kati gyetufuna nti wabeerawo company A eri licensed ne wabeerawo omufere naye neyita A naye nga nazanyira awa so tuba tukugamba nti yes oba ofunye eyo still abalala tubawe namba nakuba why company eno bwet net eri licensed ebeera wano ebeera wa gyemulina mu list ebeera wa so gamba bibimu ebyo betugezaako okusaba bannayuganda bakiteekemu amaanyi kubanga buno obulamu bwetwogerako.
Okay. Kale neyanza Mwamironi mukundane oyo no ye public and corporate manager wa Uwera is Uganda Association of External Recruitment Agency association by umbrella body etwala ebibiina byonna ebitwala abala Uganda ebweru tujja kuba tumasoka otwongera okumusumbwa kubanga the more updates eziba zigenda ddala maaso mu office ye naye ndowooza munzikirize nnyo ku lwedolo otuzi of course bwe ngenda okukomawo ngenda kubaza direct kolo tulabe ate ki ekigenda ddala maaso ku bitundu ebyekolo in regard to the budget framework year 2022-2023.
Smart 24, driving business.
Tusaze emiwendo kugirayo sente kusa MTN Momo kati gyeyo sente ku miwendo egikyasinze okuba egya wansi okuvanga lumu ogwokutaano 221 ate weefunire ne Century Points buli lw'oteekako lw'osindika oba lw'oggyayo sente ng'okozesa MTN Momo. Genda awali ba agenti baffe bonna mu ggwanga oggyeyo sente ne MTN Momo ku bisale ebisaliddwako everywhere you go.
This is Jordan. When it comes to classwork, Jordan is magic. Jordan shines. Jordan makes his peers better. Jordan is a true leader. White Star Magic family. Be a leader. Be magic.
You know, prevention is always better than cure. Let's not go for prayers in mosques, congregational prayers. Let's all value the gift of life by maintaining the SOPs. Without that, COVID-19 is with us.
Protect yourself from COVID-19 by washing your hands with soap, wearing your mask, keeping your distance, getting vaccinated, avoiding crowds, staying at home, and avoiding shaking hands and hugging.
Smart 24, driving business.
My home, I smile when I think of you, Uganda. My home. My home, I dance when I look at you, Uganda. My home, oh my Uganda.
I know with you I'll always stay forever. I know, because I feel that we belong together. My home, under the sun so bright, under the moon at night, on my heart, mommy, oh my Uganda.
Hey, mama.
My Uganda. My Uganda. My Uganda. My Uganda. Nikukunde. My Uganda. Amari alemira. My Uganda.
Nyowe nikugonza.
My Uganda.
Amina ngojo, amina ngojo.
Wano ku MTN twesunga okutandika olugendo olulala naawe olunyuvu tukulaakulanye ensi yaffe Uganda.
Smart 24, driving business. Smart 24, driving business.
Njagala okubebaza abasabale banyabo okuba nti mutwegaseko ate of course obudde nga buno tubeera mu programs endala naye because of what is happening at Kololo, of course the budget framework for the financial year 2022 and 2023 egenda ddala maaso nkyalunakola of course twatandise ne Honorable Minister of Finance Planning and Economic Development omwami Matia Kasaija ate awo twalabye abakulu ab'enjawulo, of course the Chief Justice Winnie Odorone abaddewo, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Uganda omukyala Robin Anabanjo, of course the Center for Budget Civil Society for Center for Budget and Advocacy omukulu Julius Mukunda naye abaddeko ngattanye ensogezo. Kasooka tudde Kololo tulabe ate ebiki ebigenda ddala maaso of course ku nsonga ya budget framework ya financial year 2022 and 2023.
Measures and containment and case management measures which your government has ably put forward have enabled us to deal with the issues of COVID at least from the control perspective, but have had negative impacts on the economy, businesses and employment. According to a study by the Uganda Economic Policy Research Center that was done in April 2021, employment in the service sector reduced by about 61% during the total lockdown, while manufacturing and agriculture sectors reduced by 27% and 43% respectively. The study further estimates that based on the monthly average employment recovery rate of about 2.4%, it will take us about 32 months before we are able to recover the pre-COVID employment levels. This is at the surveyed MSMEs. Your Excellency, this is the environment under which we are operating as the private sector in Uganda, and we've had an opportunity to consult our members and the general private sector, which now stands at about 270 members, but under them with over 600,000 business establishments. We've had a number of workshops, and some of them the Honorable Minister of Finance has actually participated. And what we gathered from them is that our economy is suffering the following constraints. The first one is the COVID-19 and its effects. The second one is low purchasing power, and this was even before COVID. It is not just an issue of today. Even before COVID, we had low purchasing power issues. We also are suffering from a narrow tax base, which forces government to create multiplicity of taxes on a few compliant taxable sectors and taxpayers. Fourthly, we do have a lack of appropriate capital, both for development but also for operations. Slow enactment of business laws is another problem. There are so many business laws that have taken years, some of them decades, in Parliament. They are not enacted up to this present day. Also, poor and slow implementation of government investment projects is an issue, and also closing of markets in the region because of non-tariff barriers and other challenges. Now, to address these constraints, a need for empowerment of the population with wealth and decent income is so crucial. We therefore applaud your government and the Minister of Finance for the theme of this budget, which is industrialization for inclusive growth, employment, and wealth creation. We therefore recommend that the budget strategy for 2022-2023 should focus on one, control and management of COVID and its effects, and we really request that we add our voice to the very many members and the ministry itself on focusing on mass vaccination of the population so that the country can be reopened. We also recommend increase in the financial allocations to the health and the human capital development programs through the budget. We really need it. The health sector needs to be strengthened, and so is the education sector. We also are excited that the minister in his strategy has prioritized initiatives that will enable adoption and adaptation of digitization in providing services, as this is the new way to deal with COVID effects, and it will help us in building a resilient economy. The second area, Your Excellency, which the members of PSFU would like to bring to your attention and which we think should be addressed in the 2022-2023 budget, is the issue of the disconnect between budget growth and economic growth. Your Excellency, data from Bank of Uganda shows that over the last 5 years, the budget has been growing in terms of expenditure, but we've not seen commensurate growth in terms of GDP. In fact, while the budget has been growing, GDP has been declining. This implies that the budget has not translated into proportionate growth of the economy. And indeed, every year, the URA is charged with raising and mobilizing more and more tax revenue, which they do very well. I think on many occasions they have been able to achieve the tax targets, and we really thank them for that. But our question still remains, as the business community, that is this tax revenue growth a result of growth in GDP, or rather a growth from new tax heads, or increased rates, or from better tax administration? We therefore think that this new budget should look at addressing issues and also taxes which actually hinder business growth. The following areas are of concern, and we expect that these will be addressed in the budget of 2022-2023. One of them is the unprogressive tax regimes. We have seen tax policies that are constraining business, and therefore these ones should not be encouraged at all. I'm very well aware that many times we tend to believe that all goods and services or sectors will have what they call inelastic tax. In other words, even if you put the tax, the business people will be able to pass it on to the consumers. What we are not seeing, Your Excellency, is that possibly there is a limit beyond which consumers can continue accommodating increased prices. And this one we are seeing very clearly. All the time, demand for goods and services are increasing. It means that if you put a tax on something that is essential, I have nothing to do, I'll have to consume it. So I have to drop something else. So meaning that you keep on constraining the demand and thereafter constraining the growth of businesses. This very example that we have just talked about, expansion in the budget, but with no commensurate expansion in GDP growth seems to indicate that the allocations that we are actually making may be inefficient. We therefore, in the new budget strategy, are looking forward to seeing a readjustment in the spending priorities so that resources are put behind those sectors or programs that are better able to generate growth for our economy. Your Excellency, regarding the area which I talked about, lack of capital in the market to finance businesses, we really would like to see the budget addressing some of the constraints that affect access and cost of finance, and we propose that the budget could put forward risk guarantee schemes that would enable financial sector operators to lend at lower cost. We believe that this is going to be very key in terms of helping Ugandans take opportunity, for instance, that are opening in the oil industry. There are a number of opportunities that are opening, but if we don't have the appropriate capital for our local entrepreneurs to use to participate in the oil sector, we will certainly not be able to take advantage. This is just one example, but there are so many other examples which I could actually mention. Your Excellency, we also hope that the budget this time in 2022-23 will be emphatic on enforcement of local content policies and laws. This is so crucial to stem the capital flight in our country, but at the same time expanding the markets for producers of our goods and services. We know very clearly that the local content law or bill was enacted by Parliament but has not been assented to, and we really would encourage Your Excellency to have a second look at it and assent to it so that it can help in driving the recovery of our economy, taking advantage of opening opportunities, for instance, in the oil sector. We also see and would like to see the budget addressing market imperfections domestically through regulating competition. We also would like to see expanded markets, both in foreign markets, by engaging and addressing the prevalent non-tax barriers, but also enhancing commercial diplomacy to open up markets for Uganda products. If this is done, we will see trickle-down effect in the productivity and the market of agricultural products, and in the end, incomes to the very vulnerable people. I've already said, Your Excellency, that any shock hits the people in agriculture, as I've said. So we need to work very hard to see that the people in agriculture are helped to overcome shocks. And if this is done through expanding their access to markets and where they can sell, I think this can be a very helpful thing. We also have opportunities opening in the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. We hope that the budget will put resources on the side to support addressing capacity challenges among SMEs, including information gaps, so that the MSMEs are able to benefit from this market. Your Excellency, as PSFU, we have seen tremendous opportunities that can come from promoting value chains, most especially in the agriculture sector. We are hoping that this will be addressed will be promoted within the new budget of 22-23, so that this sector can provide the necessary raw materials which will be used by processors and manufacturers to drive the import substitution strategy. Your Excellency, because of COVID, we have seen a bit of challenge in terms of the way resources are raised by government to support COVID expenses, but also other needs by government. The government these days raises or refinances debts in order to raise new resources to be able to support this. What is happening that because of this refinancing that is done through treasury bills, there is a lot of resources that come from the commercial banks to actually take advantage of the treasury bills. And some of these resources come from offshore, they come from abroad. They come in part in terms of foreign currency, and then they are converted into shillings so that they can buy dollars. We have seen over the last few months significant appreciation of the Uganda shilling against the dollar. At first we were so happy as private sector that this one means that, oh, we are importing less or we are exporting more. Therefore that is why our shilling is actually appreciating. But sadly we came to learn that it may not be so. It is actually from offshore resources that come for treasury bills. Now what happens is that the cheaper shilling, or the cheaper dollar, sorry, is now making it better and more cost effective for somebody to import rather than produce here. So this area should be looked at, otherwise our import substitution strategy might be undermined by this. So we are requesting and suggesting that the budget strategy from that perspective focus on budget development should have controls on development versus administration expenses, and we believe that if you used a ratio of 70-30, this will be good enough to help us drive a budget that will drive development in Uganda. We also suggest and recommend that the efficiency in government increases, and this is through embracing automation, and the minister has actually talked about this in his strategy, and we really are happy about that. We also recommend very much that we should adopt a monetary policy and fiscal policy mix which creates the right balance between the management of inflation and exchange rate to promote the Uganda's export agenda. I've just talked about that issue which we are concerned about these days. We also request that we expedite the enactment of commercial laws and regulations to support the business and the economy. I've already said that some of these laws actually have spent so long in Parliament, and also when new ones are being thought about, they take so long to be enacted. We also, as a broad comment, suggest that we are developing so many strategies as the country to ensure that we develop quickly. We had the public investment for agricultural industrialization, which is the PIMA. We had the MIOGA and a number of others. But we have not seen some evaluation of how these ones performed and what results they put forward. So we would suggest that the evaluation of these strategies be made, and therefore we learn from those evaluations to inform new strategies that we are putting forward, for instance, in the parish development model. As PSFU, we have noted that we really need to be present in the parishes to ensure that the private sector has got an input within the parishes from a perspective of linkages with the parishes. So I think that is something that we have tasked ourselves and will do. So Your Excellency, in conclusion, the emergence of COVID and its implications on the economy has worsened the economy. However, several of the bottlenecks in the economy are mainly policy issues which constrain the contribution of the private sector and consequently GDP growth. The budget strategy, therefore, should address these policy issues as we have recommended above. So measures to increase mass vaccination and supporting the social sectors in the economy should continue to be prioritized to support the resilience of the economy. Your Excellency, we also would like to implore you that as policies are being made, we are always involved, but when it comes to implementation, we are not on the table. And sometimes implementation doesn't work very well. So we request that the private sector get a table in implementation, get to the table in implementation of policies. I thank you very much, and for God and my country.
Thank you so much. Another big hand clap. I wanted to give you some information, Your Excellency. I am aware that vaccination is the answer to our COVID problems. And therefore, I want to give information to Ugandans that by October this year, we shall have got vaccines worth 4.8 million, that will cover 4.8 million Ugandans. And by December, we shall have vaccines in the country which can help us to vaccinate over 11 million Ugandans. And we hope by next year, we shall have gone through the whole population. So this is a very big achievement. We now have access to all types of vaccines, AstraZeneca, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, to mention but a few. And those vaccines will be used to make sure that we help our Ugandans to go through this pandemic. I now want to invite our special interest groups, and I request that you take some little time, just 7 to 10 minutes, as you give us your presentations. Now let me begin with the representative from the academia, Dr. Muhumuza, who will be followed by Uganda National Youth Council. Uganda National Youth Council will be represented by Mrs. Asimi Macklin, and then followed by Kasita. Kasita will be represented by Thaddeus Nagenda. And I request you spend little time. That's why I've read all the names. After that, I will request that I brought some physical instructors who will help us just in 5 minutes, have an exercise. And then we'll go for open discussion. Thank you so much. Can I now invite Dr. Fred Muhumuza to come and give us his presentation from the academia. Is Dr. Muhumuza around? If he's not ready, I can read another person from the Uganda National Youth Council, and that is Asime Macklin. If Asime Macklin is around, please go to the podium. And if Asime is not around, we can go to Kasita and have Nagenda present.
Right, Honorable Prime Minister, Kasita is ready to present.
Let Kasita present.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. You are welcome, Mr. Nagenda. Let us welcome Nagenda.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, Honorable Prime Minister, honorable ministers, permanent secretaries, members of parliament, commissioners, directors, ladies and gentlemen, protocol observed. I would like to take this opportunity to appreciate all government policy on fiscal interventions made in attaining economic recovery. As we attain the economic recovery together, emphasis should be developing the capacity of local enterprises to enable them compete with both regional and global market players. Ladies and gentlemen, Kasita Uganda, being a business support association established and registered, has spearheaded the diversification of traders from ordinary trading and import activities to manufacturing, agriculture, mechanization programs, service industries, and value additional activities. This has led to increased membership and taxi revenue. We would like to thank all government agencies that are making it possible for our members, including research institutions like Uganda Industry Research Institute, regulatory and certification bodies like PPDA, KCCA, UBOS, URA, and National Bureau of Standards, business development partners like Enterprise Uganda, Private Sector Foundation, Uganda Investment Authority, and other finance institutions. We're looking forward to strengthening, identifying opportunities and prototype products, acquiring business techniques, identifying more potential markets, accessing appropriate market, and identifying more right partners. It should be appreciated that most trade and commerce sector players have embraced and largely considering investment in local production as they substitute importation, especially of goods whose raw materials can be readily available, as well as export promotion of these local produced products. This, however, is taking a gradual process, especially with the slow economic development due to COVID-19 pandemic. Kasita Uganda shall and continue to sensitize and mobilize all members to accept transition and investing in local industries in line with the government policy. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to inform you that as the sector we have several hindrances, mainly because of COVID-19. We have been engaging several ministers and government agencies to see how we can mitigate and formulate solutions to our challenges. Mainly the bank loans. The bank loans, most of our players, almost 98% of the sector rely on body capital from both regulated and unregulated sources. With the COVID-19 out, it has been proved that the rates of non-performing loans and accumulated interest has gone high. Like when the Bank of Uganda instructed the banks to restructure, our members find that when they restructured, it means that their obligations automatically increased, and it's so hard even to meet their obligations. So I want to request our dear ministers and Your Excellency to see how we can find solutions to save the private sector. But seriously, a lot needs to be done. On the newly introduced tax policies, some of them are really unfair. We as Kasita, we have been partnering with Uganda Revenue Authority to make sure we change the perception of the business community and to improve compliance. I think which is partly contributing to the meeting of the targets of Uganda Revenue Authority. But you find that we have been trying to engage Minister of Finance about the taxes on textiles, which we find that our business community are going to run out of business. Basing on our research, we have discovered that some of the investors pretend that they are investors, but when they are importers, and they try to win the market share by pushing us out of business. We have been engaging Ministry of Trade. I want to appreciate for their attention to our concerns, and I request, let us make formal assessments of these investors to make sure they meet their obligations as they come to invest in Uganda. This will enable our strategy of making sure we sell the idea of value addition to our members succeed, since it's gradual. When you realize that most of the members who are in trade have heavily invested in real estate because trading business was becoming very hard, and the returns on real estate, it takes so long, so the returns period is unpredictable. And most of those, we thought if there was a panel of engagements to make sure that that money was invested in industries and value addition or agriculture, you find that they would have played a very great role in improving the tax base of our country. So we request at least to formulate fair tax policies. As Kasita, we shall do whatever it takes to improve compliance of our members in order to support the national budget. Another example is the 12% tax, internet tax, which we have been trying to make sure that we adopt the e-tax. I'm so glad that our dear Finance Minister highlighted about it. So we request that urgent attention should be done to make sure that e-commerce is taken as a priority. It will help us to make sure that we counter the effects of COVID-19, at the same time promote job, create job opportunities.
Smart 24, driving business.
Tusaze emiwendo kugirayo sente kusa MTN Momo. Kati jayo sente ku miwendo egikyasinze okuba egya wansi okuva nga 1 Ogwokutaano 2021 ate weefunire ne Century Points buli lw'oteekako lw'osindika oba lw'oggyayo sente ng'okozesa MTN Momo. Genda awali ba agenti baffe bonna mu ggwanga oggyeyo sente ne MTN Momo ku bisale ebisaliddwako. Everywhere you go.
This is Jordan. When it comes to classwork, Jordan is magic. Jordan shines. Jordan makes his peers better. Jordan is a true leader. White Star Magic family, be a leader, be magic.
You know, prevention is always better than cure. Let's not go for prayers in mosques, congregational prayers. Let's all value the gift of life by maintaining the SOPs. Without that, COVID-19 is with us.
Protect yourself from COVID-19 by washing your hands with soap, wearing your mask, keeping your distance, getting vaccinated, avoiding crowds, staying at home, and avoiding shaking hands and hugging.
Smart 24, driving business.
Excellency, to have special consideration on the taxes of goods manufactured here and then some imports to keep Uganda the Dubai of Africa. Your Excellency, most government programs are always good and benefiting the population, but the challenge usually comes into poor implementation of these programs. And the benefit, you find that it's still lacking. For instance, the government channeled enough money into Uganda Micro Support Center and Uganda Development Bank. But accessing that money by our members, it has been a tug of war. So we request to simplify the way these government agencies operate to effect efficient service delivery. As I'm summarizing, ladies and gentlemen, as Kasita, we are committed and still committed to working with all government agencies to make sure we create a very conducive business environment and partnering to improve compliance and raise the tax base of the Uganda's government. I request in a special way, we have had several issues with security. As the business community, we feel so concerned with security. We do appreciate the effort the government is emphasizing the security, but given the fact that the SAMI security scares away business activities, we request the government to seriously improve some, you see, you hear the Bijambi award, to make sure that we operate smoothly. For God and my country, I submit. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Your Excellency, the Vice President, the Right Chief Justice, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, and all of your ministers, ladies and gentlemen, I think we can stand a bit and have some simple exercise for us to keep moving as we prepare to go for preliminary discussion. Some simple exercise. I had invited some gym instructors, yes, to make us go through this. Yes, you can use the other one. Those people have helped me to keep fit. In fact, if I had dressed properly, I would show you what to do. But now that I'm not dressed properly, I will be like you. Some simple exercise, just very quickly. We have only 5 minutes to go.
Thank you, Right Honorable Prime Minister. I will just first have my colleague to do a breathe in and out, then we will do the simple stretches.
Thank you so much. Let's try to breathe in. Hold your breath in for only 4 seconds. Try to breathe in, and out. Second phase, we are going for only 6 seconds. Again, let's try to breathe in, and out. Thank you so much. Let me hand you over to Coach Bob for the dynamic stretches.
Everybody, hands up, straight like this. We stretch like this. Thank you, Right Honorable Prime Minister, for making Uganda fit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hands open like this, straight hands open. We are doing this for ourselves, okay? We go on the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Then hands we clap, continue clapping. We thank God for the gift of life. Clapping is part of the exercise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All gentlemen, we touch our feet. Ladies, stay standing. All gentlemen, we touch our feet. Touch our feet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Finally, hands like this. Like this. Let the effective blood circulation. You should get 5 minutes of your busy schedule every day to work on your immunity. The motto of Ministry of Health says, health is wealth. And as the exercise experts, we say, exercise equals productivity. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Coach Bob. Coach Bob is our physical instructor at Parliament, and then Fadil is my physical instructor. Yes. Thank you so much. Now we are going for preliminary. Let me request the Minister of Finance, Planning and Community Development to take us through. I know there are those who are online and have been sending us messages. So I request our brother from the Ministry of Finance to make us go through these messages that have come from our members who are online, and then the Minister of Finance will conclude. After that, we shall invite the Vice President to close. But as of now, let us have our brother to make us go through.
Right, Honorable Prime Minister, thank you very much. Delegates, we have a community of 153 online who have been following these deliberations. Not to be left out, they've sent feedback and would want to read a few of those highlights so that we keep them as we react to some of these comments. The first one says, economic growth is driven oftentimes by consumer spending and business investment. They are advocating for tax cuts and rebates that are used to return money to consumers and boost spending. The comment we got from Koboko, from Engineer Kiza Idiri, says infrastructure spending is designed to create construction, jobs, and increase productivity, and the appeal is for the budget framers to think through that. There is a comment from Obwanika Joseph. He says, Honorable Minister, there's much desire to look into local investors' challenges and get better solutions for the country's growth. There is a prayer from another online audience, says, we may need to look and seek guidance on how to handle churches. His comment is churches are well organized than markets, and that churches enable us to surrender to God and work through progression of the country. Another comment is from another comment, I think somebody must have been listening to the Chief Justice keenly, says Judiciary needs more money, increased, and other government bodies that help Judiciary undertake its mandate. The last comment is from a commentator who says that we don't seem to have wanted to listen from teachers, health workers, police, and the army. And they are saying the advice they are giving us is that these need to be given tax holidays, and we should also extend first-time businesses the same tax holidays. From our community online, these are the highlights of the comments. And would request that we take them, Honourable Minister, on board as we go into plenary. Before we do that, I wanted also to just raise one issue which is part of the trying to demystify big words. We've been accused as a minister of using big words and therefore not communicating. And I was, the Chief Justice was going through the demands and other issues he raised and others, I thought about the word strategy. And I said, how do we make the word strategy simpler? And then, Honorable Right Prime Minister, I remembered for those who went into the village schools, there used to be one exercise which our teachers used to tell us. It's a simple one. You have a goat, you have a boat, you have potato vines, you have matoke and other things. How do you take them across to the other bank? I think the idea was to make us strategize. And we worked through that as individuals, but also worked through that as teams. I wanted to request, with your permission, Honorable Prime Minister, that the PSST stands up. Because the Honorable Minister will stand here and all eyes will be on him, but he has a team. And there is a reason the PS is standing up. Before we reached here, he used to be somewhere in the bush. And all guns were pointed at the Honorable Minister of Finance. And he would say all things that at times we found so difficult to understand in the strategy world. But I want to thank you, Vice President, Honorable Prime Minister, for enabling us to get the right solution to take us forward. May I also request the other technocrats, the Director Budget and others who support the PS to stand up so that you're recognized. And then,
I have given you time, this is your day.
When we get this opportunity, this is when we show off, right, Honorable Prime Minister. So, those are the forces behind the PS. But there is also two other people whom I would want to stand up before the Minister comes. And that is Honorable Musasizi. Oh, he's going to Parliament. And I was going to say Honorable Rugolovi. He's around. So you remember, Honorable Prime Minister, we used to go to Parliament before the Budget Committee. As the Chief Justice said, I can't say much more than that. Thank you very much.
Let us give him a very big hand clap as we get the Minister for Finance to go back and take us, or you can even sit there and make us go through this plenary. This is your time. You can go there so that you can say all of us, this is your day, the budget conference. The budget conference for the financial year 2022-2023. As he takes his podium, you are aware that this financial year, the parish model, we are managed to recruit all parish chiefs. That is done. We are also operationalizing all those new sub-counties and town councils this financial year. Yes, we are starting with 17 million per parish. The next financial year, we shall send 100 million per parish, just to boost that 39% population that is not yet in the money economy, so that they can also now get involved in money economy. Minister of Finance.
Thank you. In interest of time, all protocol observed. This is a plenary session, and you are free to comment on any point or to make a contribution as you like. But, sorry, Gunga?
So those who want to contribute,
those who want to contribute,
you catch my eye.
Good.
You catch my eye. You catch my eye. Yes, Honorable Namiangu, our brother there. The microphones, I think they will help us take the microphone. Those are picked. And then after this one, then we shall have our sister. Then the other side, we have that one. I'm sorry, you are far. I can't recognize you properly. Dr. Tala. Okay. In that order.
I thank you, Right Honorable Prime Minister, Your Excellency the Vice President, and I thank all the presenters. Right Honorable, the Minister of Finance spoke a lot about the supplementary budgets, but I didn't hear him mention that he has put enough funds for contingent funds. I am faced with a challenge in Bunyoro, where I have a very big community around Lake Albert. The floods swept 2 kilometers. We even lost government institutions. We can't even feed people. They are stranded. Even accommodation, they are renting. So is he committing to provide contingent funds to make us as government institutions to avoid asking for supplementaries? I thank you, Madam Prime Minister.
Next. Let's get somebody to help us run the microphones around. Is that Mulu Mukasa? Yes, Mulu Mukasa. Second. After him, we will lead the honorable.
Right Honorable Prime Minister, Your Excellency the Vice President and the distinguished participants, I would like to thank the Minister of Finance for this statement, and of course the participants who have contributed. Right Honorable Prime Minister, the priorities as enumerated by the Honorable Minister of Finance, I think, are okay. I would like to underscore one of the priorities, that is the reform of the public sector for greater effectiveness and efficiency. I think this is very good, but sometimes when we talk about the public sector, we go just halfway. Our emphasis often is put on education, right from down up to the time the human capital is given a job. And it is assumed that the training or the skills that this person has acquired are enough and will be okay for that person to perform, provide the service very well. I would like to say that this sometimes is counterproductive. I think when we look at the human capital, we should also emphasize training on the job during the time of service, and training up to the end when this person leaves the service at the age of 60. So when we are budgeting, really, the training aspect should be put in as a way of making sure that we have a good public sector, a good service, and that service is indeed reformed. Now,
I request you some.
There is RAPEX. RAPEX, in short, the rationalization of government agencies and expenditure. That's very important. And for us really to have an efficient salary investment. And then one key aspect really in the transformation, that is inspection. Inspection, supervision, monitoring, and finally the recruitment, so that we have enough manpower to provide the service we need and bring about that economic recovery that we need after the COVID-19. Thank you very much.
I request our members who are coming to speak to try to, as much as possible, to summarize. Yes, it's your turn.
you very much, Right Honorable Prime Minister. I'm Christina Poloto, MP Kumi.